Jesuita saluda antes de nega radzaudz an malak estrezas durante todo el memu a no distancia como kupugi palu zangiman malak guafi con una sugi airi preba tu la noche nai banderata Gaigi, pues atan fanny bandera, kau esta pagua pumalapa, giluk tanu man libri, sentami ti. Man ko badi
Fanogi tamoru purita nota kantai matu nanyagi todu ilugat para i honra para i gloria Abiba isla sin para y honra, para y gloria, Abiba isla sin todo y tiempo y paz para kita dan gini langit na bendition Conchay piligu na fan sofuham Zeus protehis languahon Conchay piligu na fan sofuham Zeus protehis languahon
Hosanna, Oaniti, Nino Maria, Mines Kunta, Minale. Hosanna, Oaniti, Nino Maria, Mines Kunta, Minale. Fresin Yahoo, Fresin Maisadu, Parabapute, Tan Defendi, Hinengi, Cultura, Lenguahi, Airi, Hano, Tanitano Tamoru, yes, Tanitano Tamoru, yes, Ire Shaku, la la la, Ire to get into stop that, Ire to get into stop that, Ire to get into stop that, Ire to get into stop that. It's the who, what did my ihilo, Tani Biblia, Ibandera Ibandera Mohan, yes, 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 Ibandera Mohan, yes.
Good morning, Guam. Right on Monday. Let's go. It's another day. Yep, another day.
Yes, it is.
6:24, Monday, September 27. Back to school. Was it? I read a story with Superintendent John Fernandez over the weekend talking about we're still, according to all the metrics, in a high-risk transmission zone. But it's back to school. Cohorts AB. All right, good luck and God bless all the students out there, as well as the teachers and the staff. This is it. Monday, September 27th. Good morning. Pacific Points, Cabo Enterprises, IT&E, and Jack in the Box, the link. Yep, another day, another show. Let's do it. Do our hospital update this morning. Work week weather with Len and Let. Probably going to be hot. Chief of Police Steve Ignacio, Senator Frank Blas Jr. clapping back at the AG, who was clapping back at him. That was a crazy interview. We'll get into it coming up on the show. I asked for Chima Bakwam again, but apparently there are some federal officials here in town that they're having to take around.
Did they arrive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, the FEMA team, the monoclonal team.
Right, and that continues today at the Infusion Center in Manila.
Sure does.
Right, yeah. So we'll go over the weekend numbers and all that coming up on the show here. Good morning, guys. Facebook Live. Mama Bear Debbie Davis, Johnny Martinez, Dwayne Santos. Good morning. F. Glenn Lujan working hard. The Wildcats in the house. Shout out to my kids, Callie and Chase, heading over to the home of the Fanihis, DL Perez. Be safe, guys. I already gave them the whole don't touch anything talk this weekend.
Keep your mask on.
Yep, keep your mask on. I know my boy's
Wash
excited
your
to see his
hands.
crush, but, you know.
Why would you say that?
From 6 feet, boy, from 6 feet. 6:26.
Okay.
Good morning, it's Monday. You want to do the news?
Yeah, before you say anything else to embarrass your kids.
Okay, let's go ahead and get into the news now. With the very latest from the KUM news team, Sabrina Salas-Mantonati. Good morning.
Off it, everybody. Since Friday night, Guam has recorded a total of 276 new positive cases of COVID out of 2,160 tests that were performed. More tests need to be analyzed from the weekend. The latest results will be included in tonight's JIC report. To date, there have been a total of 14,374 officially reported cases, 184 deaths, 3,185 cases in isolation, and 11,005 not in active isolation. As of the 24th, the CAR score is 25.7. As of Sunday, the Joint Information Center reports 67 people hospitalized, 14 receiving ICU level of care, 9 on ventilators. Out of the 67 hospitalizations, 36 unvaccinated, 8 the status is unknown, and 23 are vaccinated. To date, a total of 118,756,000, that's 87.1% of Guam's eligible population is fully vaccinated. This percentage includes 10,318 fully vaccinated residents between the ages of 12 to 17 and 108,438 fully vaccinated adults. Free COVID testing continues today at the Teedson site. That is from 8 a.m. to noon, and at the Southern Region Community Health Center from 9 a.m. to noon. With more news now, here is Tomas Menglotnya.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Half a day, good morning everyone. I'm Tomas Menglotnya with your headlines here on The Link. An heir to a multi-million-dollar fortune pleads guilty to drug charges in a federal court in the state of Idaho. What does this have to do with Guam? According to court documents, some of those drugs were being smuggled here in Palau.
He was born into poverty, but later elevated to millionaire status after years of litigation, which ultimately confirmed he was one of several heirs to the late billionaire Larry Hillblum, the co-founder of shipping company DHL. Hillblum was a resident of Saipan. He died in a plane crash in 1995. After his death, several women alleged he fathered their children. After years of trying to establish paternity, it was confirmed that Larry Hillblum Jr. was in fact his son. Hillblum was living the high life, but not in a good way. In 2005, in Guam, he was busted for drugs. In 2017, he was charged with drug trafficking in Palau. In June of last year, Hillblum was indicted in the District Court of Idaho, along with Morgan Kenny and Sean Robert Wathan, for conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. Later that same year, in October, a superseding indictment included Zachary Craig Carlson in the conspiracy. On September 1st of this year, Hillblum signed a plea agreement. In that plea agreement, he admits that in the summer of 2015 through February 2016, he was involved in an organization which distributed meth. He and other co-conspirators would transport meth from North Idaho to Guam and Palau through international airports. They would conceal a mixture and substance containing meth in varied ways, either on their person or in their luggage, and pass through airport security. Once in Guam and Palau, the co-conspirators would meet with them and other local contacts, providing them with the drugs so that it could be distributed. Although his plea agreement left out some of the intricacies of the drug conspiracy, the sentencing memo filed involving co-defendant Morgan Kenny provided more details about this multi-million-dollar drug ring. Kenny, it turns out, is his younger half-brother. He moved from Palau to live with his brother Hillblum in Hope, Idaho, when he was 21 years old. He is now 35 and admitted to being involved in the drug conspiracy with his brother. He admitted he traveled at least 3 times to Guam and Palau to sell drugs. Court documents reveal that his brother's trip was part of several others involving multiple people in Hillblum's network. For this particular conspiracy, Hillblum allegedly bought a total of 108 pounds of meth from 2 suppliers in Washington. He traveled over 25 times along with co-conspirators to and from Palau and Guam, where he would sell the 108 pounds of meth for $24.5 million. Hillblum is scheduled to be sentenced in the U.S. District Court of Idaho before Judge B. Lynn Windmill on February 28, 2022.
It's been a hectic month to say the least for the Department of Revenue and Taxation. Director Daphne Shimizu says they've been working simultaneously on multiple projects, including processing of the All-Rise and Advanced Child Tax Credit payments. Shimizu says a majority of applications are now being filed online now, and the same vendor is working on the programming.
So we launched the All-Rise program, and now we launched the Advanced Child Tax Credit. So on the back end now, the portal is being worked on for the Advanced Child Tax Credit. But we will have more definite dates on that. But we're slated to go ahead and open the portal in October.
Meanwhile, Shimizu says they're now processing the manually filed All-Rise applications, as well as reviewing about 6,700 claims that were set aside because of errors.
We're hopeful that we'll be able to get the majority of payments out to people. Actually already 26.2 million has been paid out. And, we are expecting, though, that we will exceed the original, what was indicated, the 30 million. But of course, Governor has indicated that is something that, we'll be able to identify funds for. So, that should not be an issue.
A final total for the All Rise program payments is not yet available. And the Guam Department of Education is working to finalize their COVID-19 testing plan as the October 1st deadline is just around the corner and students return to school for face-to-face learning. KUAM's Isaiah Uggan has this report.
Executive Order 2021-23 allows the resumption of face-to-face instruction for all schools, but they also must submit a COVID-19 screening testing plan by October 1st. It is an added layer of their COVID mitigation efforts. GDOE Superintendent John Fernandez said in a media meeting yesterday that they are still ironing out the details of the COVID testing plan.
So, we are working to finalize the testing plan. As you know, it's due by October 1st. And we have put in a request to the governor's office for the supply of the available tests. And so our understanding is that they are going to get back to us with regard to delivery of the rapid tests as they become available. So we're still pending receipt of a supply of tests. And then, once we get those tests and finalize the plan, then we can implement it as directed.
Fernandez pointed out that some 160 GDOE employees have been trained to administer the Abbott Binax rapid test. The governor's most recent executive order encourages flexibility for face-to-face learning, meaning allowing students to stay online if necessary. Fernandez reiterated that students originally enrolled into the face-to-face model of learning will have to return to their campuses for in-person instruction this Monday, and that no students can switch to the remote learning module due to the shortage of teachers.
I think part of that flexibility was already exercised when we when we went ahead and designed an opportunity to keep students online while trying to also provide the in-class instruction for those who return face-to-face. So again, the limitation there is really the ability to support students who are in school versus students who are online, and that really has to do with the number of teachers and our teaching shortage at the moment. So no further change has taken place with regard to the online model of learning. If you were face-to-face coming into the school year, you are expected to return to face-to-face instruction.
Fernandez has this message for parents unsure about sending their child or children back to classes for face-to-face learning.
We will continue to monitor the community situation. We will continue to monitor and report on our GDOE COVID-19 cases to make sure people are informed. And again, we will continue to act in an abundance of caution should we see, a situation that requires us to change course.
GDOE noted that 85% of employees are fully vaccinated against the virus. Reporting for Guam's News Network, Guahusi Isaiah.
That's it for now. We'll see you tonight for KUAM News Primetime.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more. This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Saturday morning, Public Health issued the anticipated guidelines that schools need to complete their testing plans. The governor ordered that all schools shall submit reopening plans that includes that plan to Public Health no later than the 1st. Public Health has also finally made available the forms to file for a medical or religious exemption from receiving a COVID vaccine. You can find the forms at dphss.guam.gov. A 48-year-old man who was shot while allegedly breaking into a Dededo barber shop has been arrested. Albert Torres Tautau sustained a single gunshot wound in the early morning hours of September 15th when he broke into Dave's barbershop. Shop owner Dave Cadavis told us he was defending himself when he told the intruder to stop. Tautau, however, did not listen and had to be transported to the Guam Medical Regional Center for treatment. According to a magistrate's complaint, Tautau was charged with burglary as a second-degree felony. Police arrested Tautau on Friday on initial charges of home invasion, burglary, criminal mischief, theft of property, aggravated assault, and use of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony. The recent environmental damage to the once pristine Marbo Cave area has prompted a move to toughen the penalties against violators. Contractor Samsung E&C was issued a notice of violation by Guam EPA, and the Attorney General also filed a complaint against the company for failing to follow the Soil Erosion and Sediment Control Plan. Currently, the maximum fine is $125,000, But a bill by Speaker Therese Terlahi discussed during Friday's session would lift the cap completely. Terlahi says it's not intended to resolve the Marbo Cave issue, but it is meant to provide more teeth to the regulations. The bill was moved to the third reading file for a later vote. Session resumes today. And with your news in Chamorro, here's Ken Concepcion.
Buenas updates to get some to be sa morgan ni KUAM News. Presenta ni Familian Mito gi First Hawaiian Bank. Mansenti na ni paguna sa Department of Revenue and Taxation. Linya Direktor adyo na ahensya si Daphne Shimizu na sanmigay na project siya mapatututui dahil po ma-process all rights ni Advanced Child Tax Credit na inapas. Kasangan ay madzon na aplikasyon para STCA sa internet sa parewa na vendor from matututui programa siya. Kasangan mas na ma-process at di masadmiti siya na aplikasyon all rights sa marebisisita kasi size meet 700 na klama numanasangi sa pudlinatsi. Tata trabayan estiman kwanto po todo para maapasi huzong para all rights na programa. Masa sultu, maaresta di ko 8 anyos na tao ni mapaki ani ahat mi sagan badbero giza dedetu siguro release gin ni Guam Police Department. Si Albert Torres de Tauto sa padesi un solo na pinaki gitaftag giagan September 15 ani ahat mi Dave's Barbershop. Idweno si Dave Kadapi sa sangani KUM News na defendant mamay sagwi ani sangani humat may para. Tumekungog si Tauto zal sutumos makoni para Guam Regional Medical City para maamti. Segundo complaint ni magistrates, ma-charge si Tauto por burglary ni segundo grado na felony. Ma-arresta gimapas na bed ni sa permit na charge siya ni home invasion, burglary, criminal mischief, theft of property, aggravated assault, and the use of a deadly weapon in commission of a felony. Ito muna sunto gifinut sa morgan ni KUM News para paguna Lunes. Ikoten West Alberto Tolentino masintensya si Lawrence Vincent Vergerger para 4 anyos gipreso por ataka 4 anyos na padkon. Sentensyon niya sa para Committee Criminal Sexual Conduct tatigi 2020 na sakan. Gihunyo na mes sigining prosecuting attorney Corny Solis ana siguro este na kinimbikta sigun ni plea agreement niyo na Prebes West Jonathan R. Kwan. Anota si Solis na futin este na kausa sa puridat niya ibiktima dyan na sensat sa gayan na son niya dyan familiar niya kung managwaha trial. Isinangan ni biktima dyan sinanan niya sa maseng konsidera antes di ma-fresh si Tauto ni plea agreement. Para Guam News Network, Guam si Ken Concepcion. Yasuto ifinut sa moro sa presenta dyan ni nafato ni Familian Mizo gi First Hawaiian Bank.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. Got a question about your finances? You've come to the right place. Bring all your accounts together, even those that aren't with us, and see the big picture, right down to the smallest detail. Unlock powerful tools like Insights and Money Map that help you save time and take control of your finances. When you connect accounts with the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, it all starts with yes.
Do you feel like you're missing out on something? Make life more rewarding with Pacific Points. Earn and redeem points for bill rebates and free load at IT&E, discounts on fuel at Shell, vouchers at Foodies, and United Mileage Plus miles. You can even pay with Pacific Points at IT&E, Shell, and Foodies. Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage. With generations of Filipinos calling Guam home, KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by KFC and the Medical City, where patients are partners.
Breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. The chances that a woman will die of breast cancer is about 1 in 38. Although there is no sure way to prevent breast cancer, there are certain things that you can do, such as eat healthier and exercise. For more information about breast cancer, go to the American Cancer Society's website at cancer.org. Also, on October 22nd, we invite you to think pink by wearing the color pink on that day in solidarity of our breast cancer survivors and warriors.
This Pink Message is brought to you in partnership with Orda Dental Clinic, joining the fight against cancer in honor of brave warriors, survivors, and their families. Island Cancer Center and American Cancer Society.
Uno Mixed. We're mixing it up on the last Thursday of every month with a look at lifestyle, entertainment, food, and so much more on the stations, networks, and digital platforms of KUAM Communications. Uno Mixed is presented to you by Docomo Pacific, Better Together, and Pepsi.
We know you're tired of hearing about COVID-19. Some of you are probably wondering whether this is ever going to end. However long it takes, we all have to do our part, including our children, to hold the line. You can protect yourself and your family by getting vaccinated.
And if you're already vaccinated, don't let your guard down because you can still give and get COVID-19. And if you're not vaccinated, remember that if you catch the virus, you could suffer more severe complications. At the end of the day, it's the choices we make to protect ourselves, our families, and our community that will control the spread.
We know it sounds repetitive at this point, but again, wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear your mask.
Together, we have to hold the line. The KUAM Podcast Network is back and on demand, featuring a great variety of podcasts from our island and region, including culture, lifestyle, awareness, crime, politics, commentary, comedy, and entertainment. Available on most streaming platforms. The KUAM Podcast Network. Subscribe and listen now.
Take in the panoramic beauty of our island each Sunday on the KUM News Instagram with Scenic Sundays. Scroll through the natural beauty of the island on display. Scenic Sundays on the KUM News Instagram is brought to you by Addis Trust and Investment, Location, Service, Trust, and Haagen-Dazs Shops Guam, where every day is made extraordinary.
See what's on TV tonight with schedules, network news and notes, local promotions and giveaways on KUAM Communications social media pages. Like and follow us on Facebook or Instagram now for all the latest and never miss out.
The Culture Club returns to KUAM Digital and KUAM News Weekend Edition, highlighting Guam's young artists, activists, and crafters as they work to protect, preserve, and promote our Chamorro culture. Watch this weekly feature on the digital platforms of KUAM News Weekend Edition, brought to you by Hanum.
Guam was once home to over 12 native species of forest birds, each with their own unique sound, color, and role to play in our ecosystem. However, the arrival of the brown tree snake has threatened their existence. Today, only 3 of these species still exist in the wild. But what was once lost can be restored. Join the Department of Agriculture's efforts to restore our ecosystem. It is only through partnerships with various organizations and the community that we can give our native birds a future. Support snake suppression.
Catch SportsLink on the KUAM News Morning Show, The Link, every Friday to hear about the latest in sports news, game schedules, athlete profiles, and more. SportsLink, brought to you each week by Cure Alkaline Water and Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape, airs every Friday across the multimedia platforms of KUAM. Tune into the broadcast on Breeze 93.9 FM, on KUAM TV 11, live streaming through the KUAM News Facebook page, or view highlights on YouTube, KUAM News Facebook, and Instagram. SportsLink is hosted by Dave Delgado through KUAM Sports, and he will make sure that everyone knows what is happening on the fields, in the gyms, and everywhere in between.
This season, KUAM Communications is ready to go with more games, more championships, and more sports specials guaranteed to bring out the fan in you. Don't miss a minute of gameplay from NBC on KUAM TV 8 or from CBS on KUAM TV 11. We're bringing you all the action and excitement brought to you locally by Michelob Ultra, the superior light beer, Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape, and Docomo Pacific. KUAM's multi-platform morning show, The Link, just got a little more delicious with Feed Me Fridays. Chris, Sabrina, Jason, and the rest of the morning crew will take some time off each Friday to talk, taste, and tempt you with all the latest and greatest food and drinks on Guam. Old faves, new hits, and everything else we can put in our bellies. It's Feed Me Fridays on The Link, brought to you by King's Restaurants, Ruby Tuesday Guam, and Devondale.
Looking for TV schedules, upcoming sports, or special presentations, or what you may have missed over the busy week you had? Well, look no further than KOAM Digital Digest. This weekly emailed newsletter puts all kinds of information in the hands of subscribers each and every week. Just subscribe and we will make sure you keep up with your favorites and stay informed and entertained throughout it all. Go to KOAM.com, click on the newsletter tab, give us your email address, and you are all set. Brought to you in digital partnership with King's Restaurant and Ruby Tuesday Guam. It's the KOAM Digital Digest, your weekly guide to the latest information and best entertainment on the stations and platforms of KUAM.
Monday.
Okay, guys, we have some news from the world of NFL. By the way, watch all the NFL games on KUMTV and KUMTV 11. A NFL player, guy who was making big money, already went to the Pro Bowl, Jamal Agnew. You know, he's of Chamorro descent. His mother and his godfather, his Nino, are from Saipan. Tied the NFL all-time record for longest missed field goal return. He had 109 today.
Yeah.
So he is in the record books.
Wow.
The crazy thing, too, is the fact that the Arizona Cardinals missed the field goal is they tried a 68-yarder. I don't even think I'd driven 68 yards like this morning. So, yeah, Chamorro is in the NFL record books, longest missed field goal return all time. Getting it done.
That's it.
Congratulations,
there you go.
Jamal.
A big win, Sienna Maya. We're going to claim this one, too, though. The 650, Mayor Jesse Alec, the president of the Mayor's Council of Guam. Good morning, Mayor.
Hi, Mayor.
It's earlier today.
It is. Thank you. Looking nice in your red there. It's almost like you're the mayor of Agate.
Yeah. Thanks.
Let's go ahead and
we try and support everyone.
There you go. There you go. Let's just get right into it, Mayor. I know that you guys were kind of deputized by the Surgeon Cell and Dr. Michael Cruz to do outreach, right? Calling residents, and we're about a week into that effort. Can you kind of recap how it's gone?
So, for the most part, I think most mayors have already started their phone banking. There are a couple of mayors who have decided to do a door-to-door posting as opposed to phone banking. And so I believe Inalahan and MTM have done that already last week. So their residents will not be receiving a phone call. I know the larger districts have already tried to make contact with the isolated areas and the difficult areas to get tested. I know that Hoggett has coordinated, what do you call this? They've coordinated little efforts to get the testing in different pockets of the village already as of late last week and through the weekend. So far so good. Of course, the difficulty is that, because of the weather, the testing sites were on and off. So that was kind of, that just either slowed things down for residents or changed people's minds to go and get tested. But we're hoping that, with a more regular schedule this week, that they'll continue to get tested. We take a look at the JIC releases every night, and the numbers don't. Well, I mean, last night's numbers were higher when you look at the percentage, right, of infections or positives. So for us, I think it's really that we locate and we identify those positives, and we get them the help that they need if they're feeling symptomatic. That's our effort, and so we're slowly but surely doing it. I do know that some people, most people that we call are, they tell us that they've already been tested, and we just kind of want to remind them that regular testing is helpful, especially if you have some other issues, some other health or medical issues going on. That is best to get tested. So far so good. Of course, like I said, because of the weather last week, we didn't. The results were not as good as we expected them as far as the number of testing, but they're still going on. The tier 2 clinics, I think that was made clear many times, at least on my end. But there are some people that are finding some difficulty when they're going to get tested at a tier 2 clinic. If you're uninsured, so there's mixed messaging there, and it's difficult because I called myself a particular clinic, and they don't charge for the COVID testing itself, but there's an administrative fee that is assessed to the uninsured. And for the insured, it's billed to your insurance company. Dr. Wen did mention that the clinic can fill out certain paperwork or documents in order for the uninsured to get treated or to get tested without having to pay even the administrative fee. But I believe that really is just dependent on the clinic. So it is difficult to continue to share with our people about free testing at tier 2 clinics, because it's, I hear one thing and someone else hears another thing. So they're private clinics, so you can't really tell them what to do. Their safest bet is to go to a government operated clinic, which is Tizen or one of the regional centers, the North or Southern Regional Health Center. That's your safest bet for those that are uninsured. But for those that are insured, to avoid the waiting line and inclement weather, they can certainly go to a tier 2 clinic.
How's that make you feel, America? Because they ask you to go call everybody, and you guys call everybody, and there's this confusion
that's the
about
frustrating part, and I think we're at a point where we just kind of have to sail our own boat. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of what it is, because we don't hold the cash, and if we could have figured out a way to ensure that tier 2 clinics, we didn't even mention about an administrative fee, and tier 2 clinics could simply just test insured or uninsured without any difficulty, I think that would certainly be a lot more helpful. I do know that the people that need to know understand that issue on our end, and so I don't know if anything is going to be done. Of course, part of my frustration is, and this is my personal opinion, is that we hear all the different doctors. I mean, you guys since day one have brought in different doctors, and we've heard their opinions and their science-based suggestions and recommendations. And for me, as a layperson, I really feel that the push to vaccinate was certainly a good and positive route at the very beginning. But right now, I mean, we're 86% vaccinated, and we're pushing vaccination as if vaccinations are the key to all of this. But we're still seeing our numbers rise. And so I'm not sure why the messaging is still the same to continue to vaccinate, and our results have not changed. And so I'm of the opinion that our people just really need to know whether they're sick or not and get treated right away and not wait till you actually have to get to the hospital, because getting to the hospital is not, is not ideal for you. And contrary, I believe, again, my personal opinion, contrary to a news article this morning, I don't believe that, and based on other doctors' opinions, I don't believe that our hospitals can continue to manage high numbers of COVID cases. And that's the reason why we were brought in to help and support public health's mission. And so I really am of the opinion that our people, regardless of how you feel, just need to know that if you're not feeling well, you need to get checked. And if you've been feeling under the weather, don't slip it under the rug. Go and see a doctor, just to be sure. So that's our campaign so far. And yes, we'll continue to call around, and we'll find answers on our own as far as making sure we get residents the answers they need when it comes to testing at the different sites, whether it's a government operated or a tier 2 clinic.
A friend of mine lost her father to COVID over the weekend. He was a patient on a ventilator up at Guam Memorial Hospital. But Mayor, I just want to share with you, because she texted me kind of like the whole timeline of it, and I think this story is an example of why you guys were called to action by the surgeon cell. She writes, Chris, he just wasn't feeling strong, so we called the ambulance, and his oxygen levels were low in the 70s. We didn't know because he didn't exhibit any signs whatsoever. The oximeter is needed especially for the elderly. Once he got to the hospital, they tested him and he was positive. No wonder why a lot of people don't think they have COVID-19, because they don't exhibit any symptoms whatsoever. He was just not feeling as strong as he normally was, like fatigue. We thought he just needed to rest because he loves to plant and be out in the yard doing small gardening. But now he's on the ventilator, unfortunately. And she texted me that they lost him over the weekend. So this is kind of an example of what we're seeing at the village level, is people don't even know that their blood oxygen is so low, and they're going to the hospital when it's already too late.
And that's the examples the doctors gave to us. That's what they told us. And I'm not sure why we're not focusing our messaging. The entire government is not focusing their messaging on that, on simply to get tested to know. I'm sure he was positive, correct?
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah.
So he didn't know, and that's the issue. Our and uncle don't they don't know, and we know that because I've been calling myself. And when you talk to a particular senior citizen, they're vaccinated, they got tested, everything it's okay, boy, Esther, I'm done. Well, you need to still get tested. If you're home alone, we just have to, we need to look out for them, because they won't get, the additional tests that they need, that they should probably get, so that they can be safe. And, I'm glad that, her father was able to get to the hospital in time. And hopefully, God willing, he'll do a lot better and get released soon. But we just want to, we want to prevent the more negative effects to that, So, yeah, that's the hard part, is having to deal with that part of the pandemic that I think we should probably focus more of our efforts on. Bottom line, at this point, really. So
you mentioned how it's you're getting sort of this resistance or concerns from constituents about having to pay at the tier 2 clinics for that administrative fee. Has there been any discussions then about opening up more testing sites, government testing sites, so that it is more accessible, or even training?
Yeah, certainly. Yes, of course. Like I mentioned, the people that need to know about this situation know, and they do know that as mayors and vice mayors, we're open to having additional testing sites in the villages. And again, I reiterated that on Friday, that if there were any opportunities for community level testing like we did at the very beginning, most mayors are ready and willing to host them.
What
So
about
that's-
going to a nearest school since they're going to be required?
Well, I can't speak for the schools, but I always advocate for what we can achieve and what we can accommodate. And of course, they are aware that we are of the opinion that additional government sites are necessary to avoid the tier 2 issues.
I just
So,
figured
yeah.
there would have been a plan or something.
I think we all know that. I think we all believe that by now there should have been contingencies for many different situations. I mean, yes, we all work, and most of us have not stopped working, but at the same time, there's a lot of us, and so I really feel that there should have been other contingency plans ready to execute based on what happens on a particular day. But like I said, we have to roll with the punches on our end, and we go with what we have, and we deal with what we have.
Since we apparently aren't going to see any additional restrictions or anything, we're just going to, let things be and deal with it. Since the governor said
Get
everything's
used to it, actually, was the word.
Whatever. So, the numbers have plateaued. Are you guys still working to reopen senior citizen centers? I think October was the time frame.
No, we can't. We can't open it. We can't open it because we just never know when our staff's going to be, farmed out to do something else. I mean, it's that critical for us. We have the same number of staff that operate our offices and our senior centers, and we still don't. There's no plan yet on what we're going to do with the over 1,000 meals that are delivered every day. And so, if we had to use the centers for other issues or for other types of emergencies, we couldn't open the centers, and we just can't. Not at this point. I mean, things have changed drastically, and as far as preparation, Division of Senior Citizens continues to, follow up on their procurement. Of course, it's always an issue. So they have to go through the regular government procurement when it comes to all the different things we've mentioned as far as, equipment goes for safety. And that's all on track. I've seen the purchase orders, so I know that they're they've been initiated, but they have not yet been procured. I mean, it's still not yet in our hands. So we're still waiting on that. On October 1st, it's certainly not going to be a time. We certainly won't be able to open by October 1st.
What about ARP money? You guys got anything yet?
If we did, I'd pay for all the tier 2 clinics so that our people won't have to worry about getting tested.
Did you pay your COVID differential pay? Since your employees are always on the front line?
No. You'll know. You'll know when they get paid.
Okay.
No pay. Sorry.
Mayor, can we go back to the beginning because I want to make sure I have it accurate. So did you guys reach out to the Adelup and the surgeon cell saying, hey, how can we help, or did they approach you guys?
No, of course, my regular meeting with the governor, she had recommended that I meet with Dr. Mike Cruz. And then it was because from that conversation that started our initial campaign to test it.
So when you talked about some of the challenges you're facing in your village, are you hearing that across the board from the other mayors, especially like maybe in the more populated villages?
You know what? I think COVID has made everyone a little more messy, and their skin has become more tougher than Carabao. So, because, it's like we have to learn how to adapt, right? And so if a resident calls, it's not go call Jesse. It's not go call Jesse. It's let's go figure this out, right? And so I do know that all the mayors have get the same questions and the same, concerns. And so, of course, I send it out as soon as I know I have an answer, I send it out to everyone. But no, I don't believe that anyone is having it any differently. I think everyone shares the same concerns for the most part. So, but at the same time, I'm so grateful that my colleagues continue to find their answers and and then look into their own resources to get results for their residents. So, if that answers your question, yes, we are experiencing the same things.
I just had one final question, and this relates to just a follow-up to when the controversy with the All Rise happened and the requirement for residential verification, and you know how there were all the long lines, and when the LT at the time removed that requirement, I think it was you who mentioned that there was this assurance, right, that we were going to see technical upgrades, whether it be computers or what have you. Have you gotten those technical upgrades, and what did you mean when you said that back then? I'm just curious if you guys got like computers or Wi-Fi
so
or whatever.
that's actually a big deal for us, and we did have a meeting last week on it. So I believe they are in procurement for the actual software. The hardware, I believe, is ready, just has not been distributed. And so what it does is it does a lot for us. It creates a database for us of our residency or our residents, and so it helps us to track them better, and it includes all the different fields that are necessary for us, including the veteran status, and everything that is required by the different government agencies. And of course, we're hoping that that's going to morph into something that is convenient not only for public health but for GURA and for Rev and Tax. And so that, in the future, hopefully in the near future, we don't actually have to print anything. It can actually be sent to them, or they can view it on our end. So yes, it's active. Of course, I think most of us wish that it would come sooner, but it is being worked on. As far I know that because, like I said, we just had a meeting on it last week. So I'm excited to announce the good news as soon as we get it. And thanks for asking about it.
All right. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, I do want to, I just officially, and I mean officially because on air is the first time I've said it, and we don't issue any written statements, but on behalf of the Mayor's Council of Guam, we do want to extend our sincere condolences to the families of the late former Mayor Doris Lujan from Minalahan and the late Commissioner from Talofofo, Roman Kinata. And so, I'm sure we'll hear more about their funeral announcements in the days to come.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, have a good day.
You too. 7:10, we're going to take a quick break, and we're coming back with Senator Frank Blas Jr. next on The Link. Good morning.
Uno Mixed. We're mixing it up on the last Thursday of every month with a look at lifestyle, entertainment, food, and so much more on the stations, networks, and digital platforms of KUAM Communications. Uno Mixed is presented to you by Docomo Pacific, Better Together, and Pepsi.
Breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. The chances that a woman will die of breast cancer is about 1 in 38. Although there is no sure way to prevent breast cancer, there are certain things that you can do, such as eat healthier and exercise. For more information about breast cancer, go to the American Cancer Society's website at cancer.org. Also, on October 22nd, we invite you to think pink by wearing the color pink on that day in solidarity of our breast cancer survivors and warriors.
This pink message is brought to you in partnership with Ordot Dental Clinic, joining the fight against cancer in honor of brave warriors, survivors, and their families. Island Cancer Center and American Cancer Society.
We know you're tired of hearing about COVID-19. Some of you are probably wondering whether this is ever going to end. However long it takes, we all have to do our part, including our children, to hold the line. You can protect yourself and your family by getting vaccinated.
And if you're already vaccinated, don't let your guard down, because you can still give and get COVID-19. And if you're not vaccinated, remember that if you catch the virus, you could suffer more severe complications. At the end of the day, it's the choices we make to protect ourselves, our families, in our community that will control the spread.
We know it sounds repetitive at this point, but again, wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear your mask.
Together, we have to hold the line.
See what's on TV tonight with schedules, network news and notes, local promotions and giveaways on KOAM Communications social media pages. Like and follow us on Facebook or Instagram now for all the latest and never miss out.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by KFC and the Medical City, where patients are partners.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, where you get smart insights into your finances so you can make smart decisions with your money. With a daily personalized feed, you can compare your monthly income to spending. That's better. Discover where your money is actually going. You might be surprised. See what's essential and what isn't. The more you use the app, the smarter it gets. With insights from the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, it all starts with yes.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Till I die, I'm running through my village in the 653. I'll guarantee that you'll never wanna leave. I'm running through my village, come and take a ride. Chico is my city and I'll rap it till I die. We'll come up to the north, I'll show you how we ride. It's 653, y'all better recognize. Well, Chico is my hometown. I'm from the 653, guaranteed I'm gonna hold it down. This song is for the gigolos. I put it on for my village and I'll show you how we really do. A for boomer stand up from Emsley to Matog. What y'all a chance, dog, put it up.
All right, 7:15 Monday. The Link, Pacific Point, Scavo Enterprises, ITNE, and Jack in the Box. Bringing you this episode, September 27, 2021. Anyway, we had the AG on Friday. I don't know if you guys saw that, but pretty feisty interview. He said something about sound bites with no substance here on the Link, and then he proceeded to give us a bunch of sound bites. Kind of clapping back at Senator Frank Blas Jr. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
We're going to go ahead and play this story real quick, guys, just to give you a little context, if you will, to interview we had with the Attorney General on Friday morning right here on the Link.
Attorney General Levan Camacho responding to questions and criticisms delivered on the Link by Senator Frank Blas Jr. and Public Auditor B.J. Cruz. The pair asking if AG will act on audit findings relative to the OPA's hotel quarantine audit. Auditor Cruz finding $3 million in question costs, a possible conflict of interest with the main procurer, and a hotel. Cruz saying the first round of hotel quarantine procurement performed by the governor's former legal counsel and son-in-law, Hai Hyun, did not comply with local law. Meanwhile, Senator Blas jumping into the fray, penning several letters to the AG, asking if there will be any action taken on the audit findings. The senator saying the AG never wrote him back, but Camacho giving us the tea this morning on the Link.
It's under active review, and it's disingenuous for anyone to say that we're ignoring any letters. I mean, we've been in contact with Senator Blas, and the OPA, he issued his findings. But it's absolutely not true that we're ignoring anyone or not doing anything. Unfortunately, we're living in a time where we elevate sound bites over substance, and talk radio is not really one where you're going to go into nuance, right? So our commitment has been to see through the noise, to make a decision based on law and evidence, and to not base our decision based on casting strongly worded letters or people coming onto the show and bad mouthing me.
Camacho to the auditor, stay in your lane.
The OPA, when it's like, okay, the OPA said something was wrong, therefore it's a crime. It's not that simple. And I just want to be very clear about that.
The AG says it's not that simple, and what makes it complicated is a recent Supreme Court of Guam ruling.
Basically saying the Organic Act vests the governor with ultimate authority over quarantine, which includes establishing quarantine facilities. And I know, Chris, you like to ask me, when do I ever disagree with the governor? This is one of those cases where we openly disagree with the governor, and we argue that Section 19605 was organic, and she won.
The AG flipping the script on his critics, saying they are the ones who are doing nothing.
The OPA and the legislature both have authority to take action, and neither of them are doing anything at this point other than sending letters.
AG Camacho going in deeper on the auditor, saying he needs to be consistent, citing an earlier Link interview with Cruz.
His job is to be the procurement police, and he went out and he debarred a vendor, and that was a very big thing, and he took shots at me in his decision, and it seemed to be selective when he's going to kind of put on his police procurement hat and when he's going to kind of kick the can down the road or pass the buck.
For Guam's News Network, Chris Barnett reports.
Situation where we don't necessarily agree on.
Sounds like more of an interview that BJ should respond to.
All I can picture now is BJ being a procurement cop for Halloween.
I asked him if he had a uniform.
So I guess your reaction there, Senator?
Well, I would. I'm glad that we finally heard from him in one form or another. I don't take that I've gotten one phone call saying that it's still being reviewed as constant communication with my office. That said, Chris, I still hold to my stance that there is enough information provided in the auditor report that warrants some legal action to be taken by the Attorney General of Guam, who is the chief, legal officer on this island. Neither I nor the Office of the Public Auditor right now have that ability to take that, that information and take it to the next step, next level. Despite being said that we have some type of power to be able to do this. The legislature doesn't. We are the policy-making branch of the government. We're not the enforcement branch of the government. So, so I thank him for finally, albeit, he had more of the conversation with you than he's ever had with me on this conversation. So, we'll see now. Where it goes from there. I will not stop in wanting to press him to be able to take legal action.
Let me ask you, Senator. There was a theme that he kind of brought up. He said, "Oh, Chris, you like to talk about when do I ever disagree with the governor." But I found it a little ironic because this is a kind of a situation where you'd maybe want to see a response that was a little more independent sounding, because it almost seemed like he was a little defensive.
And it seemed, a little defensive. Again, if I don't know whether it was spur of the moment or, whether or not it was, he may have wanted to basically retract that statement because there is an expectation of independence, if you will, from all influences of the government because of the responsibility that he has. There is nobody else within the government of Guam with that capacity, the authority, and basically the edict to work, and pursue cases such as this. So we'll see.
One of the other things, though, that you had mentioned was another route that could possibly be taken with an oversight hearing. I'm not sure if we're talking about an oversight hearing with the Public Accountability Committee or if you were talking about the Procurement Committee. We know that Senator Sabina held an oversight hearing last year, but for the Committee on Public Accountability, the vice chair is Senator Amanda Shelton and Senator Mary Torres for Public Accountability. Have you had any conversations with either of them to possibly hold an oversight hearing?
Not at this point. Again, we're still looking at the different opportunities and the possibilities, but at the end of the day, what really matters is, what can be pursued. While there can be an oversight, with the Office of the Government and the procurement entities, to hear their side of the story, or whether it could be a roundtable with the Office of the Public Auditor, to basically explain or provide more information, or the information, that he can with regard to this procurement. What is it going to mean at the end of the day? There is an allegation of violation of law, which, in an oversight or in a roundtable discussion to be held by the legislature, that's it. We don't have that authority to be able to enforce, and to prosecute public law. And what this is a violation of public, is an alleged violation of public law. And this is clearly in the court of the Attorney General. And so we can't have those discussions. But, Bree and Chris, Jason, you've seen many of them for good or for bad. But, again, what can be done at the end of the day? Do we need to, when you conduct oversights with the legislation RN, it ultimately would result in another law that's created. It's not necessary at this point. The law was pretty clear. This is something that needs to address the violation of the law, not so that we can address an issue, so that we can either amend the current law or create new statute. That's not what I think needs to happen now. So, I would appreciate that now that there's more action on his part in as far as the review. I welcome an opportunity to be able to speak with him, along with the public auditor, and again, that's what my role is here. Is I took a public auditor report that alleges these violations, and I passed it on to the Attorney General's office, who is charged with that responsibility of taking legal action should there be, again, something that's prosecutable.
Hi, day.
It's Monday morning.
I know. I'm doing my part, though. I'm trying to bring you guys together one way or another.
And I appreciate it. Thank you. Again, is if he gives me a call and or he says he'd like to be able to meet so that we can discuss this further, I would very much be obliged to do so. Again, Chris, that's not my role to take this to the next level. That's the role of the Attorney General, not mine.
So when you got that phone call, what was it? Just like, yeah, thanks, I got the letter? Was that pretty much it? Or?
And it wasn't even from him.
Oh.
It was from one of his staffers who called me and said that, as a matter of fact, it wasn't for that matter. It was for other matters. And so then, it was what of my letter. He goes, oh yes, sir. We are the Attorney General is actively looking into it, and there has been no decision made. And so my next question was, and we are going to make this decision when? And it's like, well, sir, we'll call you. We'll keep in contact with you when we made that decision. And again, I guess calling me is through you guys.
Let me ask you though, Senator, because it appears since the AG's office advised the governor's son-in-law and former legal counsel on this issue, for the Attorney General to review it, do you think that presents a conflict of interest for him to even review it to determine if it should be passed on to maybe some type of independent attorney or investigator or whatever the process is? Because I mean,
I really don't know the legal procedures necessary for that. However, I do think that from basically from common sense, and that if there is perceived to be a conflict, whether it be because of a relationship you have with one of the individuals mentioned in the report, or whether because you took an active part of in the process, there is the opportunity for that office to be able to appoint an independent attorney to act on their behalf, but independent of the influence of that office, to be able to move forward. But see, that's already in statute, already provided in his authority. That's nowhere provided in mine, nor is it provided in the Office of the Public Auditor. And going back to do we want to give those powers outside of the Attorney General to somebody else? That's where, in my role, in the oversight of the roundtable, that could occur, but it does not address the alleged violations, or the violations as alleged in the OPA report. So.
I had a question about something else, and that was, it's also related to a letter that you had written to the governor regarding delaying the implementation of her mandatory vaccinations. I asked for a response, but I didn't get one. But have you received anything? I know today is the deadline for businesses.
I have not gotten a direct response yet, but I am pleased to see that at least, obviously, my wife works in the Department of Education, and so what has been shared was that there has been a email, and some guidance to the administrators, because as was mentioned by John Fernandez last week, they don't have the equipment necessary to conduct or to implement the mandate at this time. So things have been put on hold. At least in as far as the Department of Education, I've heard as well over the weekend from other government employees or from other employees of government entities where they're experiencing the same issue. Obviously, there's the equipment and the personnel necessary to be able to effectually carry out this order, not necessarily in place. So there's an assumption or there's a feeling that in many cases there's going to be that postponement, and then that's the gist of the letter that I wrote to the governor. In that there are some concerns, late in the game, the 11th hour, when you're granted that this thing, that this mandate, was talked about, at least about a month ago. It was a process that was too slow to be able to make sure you fully implemented it today. That's what is being seen. I'm not going to say it through the entire, government of Guam, but there have been pockets of agencies and supervisors and employees who are very much concerned of how effective, how ready they are to be able to implement it. And so, to err on the side of caution, they said, let's hold back a little bit. Now, after my conversation with views, I'm going to go turn around and try to find where these places are at and force people to move. I don't know. I'm just hoping that, whether or not they're going to give me the credit, really doesn't matter to me. What it matters at the end of the day is that if you're going to affect something in a mandate, and it's going to affect the lives of not just the unvaccinated, but the vaccinated, and the services that government will go and provide, and you're not ready for it, hold back on it, and use this as the opportunity to address those concerns, amongst your lack of equipment and lack of personnel to be able to conduct the testing and whatnot.
Thank you, Senator. Good?
All right.
Yeah.
Good luck in session.
Yeah, good morning and good luck.
Thank you, guys. And you guys have a wonderful day, okay?
Thank you.
Take care.
Senator Frank Blas Jr., we're going to take a quick break and coming back with the Chief of Police next right here on the link. Good morning.
We know you're tired of hearing about COVID-19. Some of you are probably wondering whether this is ever going to end. However long it takes, we all have to do our part, including our children, to hold the line. You can protect yourself and your family by getting vaccinated.
And if you're already vaccinated, don't let your guard down, because you can still give and get COVID-19. And if you're not vaccinated, remember that if you catch the virus, you could suffer more severe complications. At the end of the day, it's the choices we make to protect ourselves, our families, and our community that will control the spread.
We know it sounds repetitive at this point, but again, wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear your mask.
Together, we have to hold the line.
Uno Mixed. We're mixing it up on the last Thursday of every month with a look at lifestyle, entertainment, food, and so much more on the stations, networks, and digital platforms of KUAM Communications. Uno Mixed is presented to you by Docomo Pacific, Better Together, and Pepsi.
Breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. The chances that a woman will die of breast cancer is about 1 in 38. Although there is no sure way to prevent breast cancer, there are certain things that you can do, such as eat healthier and exercise. For more information about breast cancer, go to the American Cancer Society's website at cancer.org. Also, on October 22nd, we invite you to think pink by wearing the color pink on that day in solidarity of our breast cancer survivors and warriors.
This pink message is brought to you in partnership with Ordot Dental Clinic, joining the fight against cancer in honor of brave warriors, survivors, and their families. Island Cancer Center and American Cancer Society.
Do you feel like you're missing out on something? Make life more rewarding with Pacific Points. Earn and redeem points for bill rebates and free load at IT&E, discounts on fuel at Shell, vouchers at Foodies, and United Mileage Plus miles. You can even pay with Pacific Points at IT&E, Shell, and Foodies. Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
KUAM Communications continues our perpetuation of our Chamorro culture, language, and heritage, with features available to our listening and viewing audience, including streaming of Chamorro music 24 hours per day on Isla Digital Radio on KUAM.com and the KUAM News app. Chamorro News Update, weekdays on the link and the KUAM News YouTube channel. Conversations about life in our Chamorro language podcast, Cuentos Tapoco, with Kin Conception. Seasonal specials, shows, and other features highlighting the beauty of our language, culture, and history. It's a new era of our continued commitment to our Chamorro heritage. Isla, watch, listen, stream. Viva Isla!
The Culture Club returns to KUAM Digital and KUAM News Weekend Edition, highlighting Guam's young artists, activists, and crafters as they work to protect, preserve, and promote our Chamorro culture. Watch this weekly feature on the digital platforms of KUAM News Weekend Edition, brought to you by Hanum.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by KFC and the Medical City, where patients are partners.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, where you get smart insights into your finances so you can make smart decisions with your money. With a daily personalized feed, you can compare your monthly income to spending. That's better. Discover where your money is actually going. You might be surprised. See what's essential and what isn't. The more you use the app, the smarter it gets. With insights from the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, it all starts with yes.
The world of television is more exciting than ever. Don't miss a minute of special presentations from NBC on KUAM TV8 or from CBS on KUAM TV11. Every month, we'll bring you the fun and excitement of award shows and red carpet moments, special series presentations, and other great network programs. Brought to you locally by King's Restaurant, Ruby Tuesday Guam, Bud Light Seltzer, and Docomo Pacific, giving you more reasons to tune in and turn on. Fall in love with TV again with the best from KUAM Communications.
Listen, watch, and learn from the daily Chamorro News updates from KUAM News. Catch them on the link during the 8 o'clock hour, streaming online on Isla Radio, or on the KUAM News YouTube channel for your convenience. Tune in and stay informed, all while preserving our precious culture through the daily use of our native Chamorro language. Chamorro News updates are brought to you by your familia at First Hawaiian Bank.
KUAM's multi-platform morning show, The Link, just got a little more delicious with Feed Me Fridays. Chris, Sabrina, Jason, and the rest of the morning crew will take some time off each Friday to talk, taste, and tempt you with all the latest and greatest food and drinks on Guam. Old faves, new hits, and everything else we can put in our bellies. It's Feed Me Fridays on The Link, brought to you by King's Restaurants, Ruby Tuesday Guam, and Devondale. Big Ben and the boys, Fagaga, 742.
The Link, Pacific Points, Cabo Enterprises, ITNE, and Jack in the Box. Good morning. It's Monday. Back to school Monday. Whether you like it or not. September 27th, the Chief of Police, Steve Ignacio, and the KUM News Zoom room. Good morning, Chief. Happy Monday.
Morning, Chris. Bree.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Well, thanks for joining us, and I guess we'll go ahead and get right into it. There was a media report I saw that was talking about domestic violence response times, Chief. So did we kind of want to start there and maybe just respond to some of the criticisms that people have about just some of the response times that we get from the Guam Police Department? I know it's challenging.
Yeah. So, Chris, sometimes, the response time is dependent on the nature of the call and how many officers are on duty. But, domestic violence, though, by statute, the response time should be very minimal. And so we try and get to these calls right away, to these victims who had a bad experience with our response time. I truly do apologize. And I'll have Sergeant Tapao look into that matter, and we'll get a response into that specific incident.
What are some of the challenges that lead to these longer response times, Chief?
Of course, Chris, it goes down to lack of personnel. We're challenged with people, but we continue to respond to the calls. It may take a little bit longer, but we will get there. And for those who experience a very long wait or actually call and don't get a police officer to come by, please call my office so that we can address it and make sure that we talk to the officers and their command to make sure that there is a response, albeit delayed at times, but we will get there.
Chief, could you kind of explain the process? Because I know of some instances where people will call the police, and I guess depending on what they're calling about, they might not even get a response at all. Like, for example, I mean, I'm not trying to make this personal because I'm so over it, but someone broke into my house a couple years back, and they didn't take anything, but, and I didn't even want to call the cops because it was just, to me, it just seemed like a hassle, you know what I mean? Because I saw where they came in, I looked at everything over, and it just, was like, I realized, especially working in the media, that there are many more important cases, right? But that being said, I did call and, they said they were going to send someone out, but no one ever showed up. But I mean, I'm just thinking about, forget me, what about those people where it's, more important and they just get no response whatsoever? What's the protocol, and how do you guys determine what calls warrant a response, given that you're always kind of dealing with this shortage in staff?
Yeah, Chris. So, our response, of course, is based on the priority of the call. Of course, in progress calls, the more serious calls, robberies, stabbings, of course, homicides, robberies with injuries, domestic violence, especially if the perpetrator is still at location. Those calls get a priority over, let's say a theft. There's no suspects. Like in your case, you came home, nothing was taken, and nobody was there. The perpetrator was not there anymore. We kind of push those down the line until the officers are free. It's not unusual, especially for like Deredo precinct. I mean, they'd have to call, the neighboring precincts like Tamuning or Central to come and help out, because we could have. I've been up there before Deredo, and we could have 2 or 3 disturbance calls or riot calls at the same time. And so, of course, those are calls that we have to respond to, because there's a high likelihood that maybe people might get hurt. We have to break up a fight. And so, we respond to those calls first. And then, of course, all the other calls are pending until we have enough, or until we get to them. And so, Chris, again, it's a matter of the call, the number of personnel on duty, and, making sure that even things like having cars, can be a challenge. And although I would like to say that shouldn't be a challenge anymore, we just released 23 brand new cars to our fleet last week. So, I don't believe cars should be an issue now.
I want to get to the cars in just a second, but I wanted to just follow up on just calls. And is there any discussion to kind of make it more efficient and move away from this 3-call transfer to 911? Because that kind of has a delay for about like 3 to 5 minutes. So currently, someone calls 911, determines if it's a GPD call, then 911 transfers it to GPD dispatch, and then determines what precinct is responsible. Then after that, GPD dispatch transfers caller to the specific precinct. So is there anything that you guys are discussing? We got to make this more efficient, more, responsive to people that need help?
Yeah, Bree. So the fire department is upgrading their 911 system, the next gen 911. So I believe in my discussions with the fire chief, we should be able to at least minimize the number of times a call is transferred. Ultimately, Bree, I'd like to go back to the days where there was a large number of dispatchers. We had dispatchers, actually even civilian dispatchers at the precincts. Those have kind of gone away, and those duties have now rested on the police officer. But if we can get more dispatchers, and we have hired dispatchers. Unfortunately, just like police officers, they quit also. But if we can minimize, like you said, Bree, the number of times a call is transferred, and the number of times really a person has to repeat themselves, it save a lot of time and really a lot of frustration on the part of the victims. Because I understand the frustration. You call 911, you have to explain yourself. They make a determination it's a police call. They send you to police dispatch. Oh, you're from Dedido, so we're going to send you to Dedido. And then Dedido has to ask you again all over. And I think if we can figure out where we take out the middleman and just use one form of dispatch, I think we can minimize the frustration on the part of the victim, and making sure that we get to the call faster or sooner rather than later. One of the things we've always we've talked about, but we don't want to minimize anybody's complaint. Chris and Bree, is we've talked as a department, what can we do to like these calls that no suspects, maybe just unfortunately maybe just clothing or slippers were stolen, or a bush cutter or lawnmower, and there's no suspects, no leads, or a very minimal amount of money involved as far as the value of the item. We've talked about maybe even having them come to the precinct, file a report, something that we've explored. Major Manny has talked to some of our records management, our vendor for our records management system. We're looking at ways to, and we've talked about this many times in the past, even when I was a captain. How can we minimize the wait, and is there a better way to take complaints as opposed to sending an officer or having somebody come in person? But until we get there, every call is important, and we do our best to try and get to these calls.
Now on to the cars. You said 23 new cars. Is one missing?
Yeah, one's missing. It's on its way. Yeah, we have 23 of 24, but it's definitely ordered and it's on its way. These cars took a long time to get here. There was production issues, and I think we follow what's going on throughout the nation. There was a delay in production of vehicles. A lot of it had to do with, I guess, computer chips or something along those lines. And so, we're affected just as well as the rest of the community.
Any of the new cars experience any issues or problems?
I think one did have a stall issue, but of course, these cars are brand new, so they have a warranty on them. And so, of course, it's going to be addressed by the dealer.
Mm-hmm. What about more cars? Are you guys ordering more cars?
Yes, we're already looking into funding. We're talking to, we're going to have a discussion again with Mr. Esther Carlson and his team and see if there's a Department of Interior funding with the governor, lieutenant governor, of course. There's always, hopefully there's ARP funding. That's something that we can discuss with the governor. But we're gonna have to start from scratch again. The indefinite quantity bid for this particular lot of cars has expired already, so we're gonna have to start the whole process again. To build the specs, and then get a vehicle committee together to make recommendations.
How many cars are you guys looking to get?
It'd be nice, Bree, of course, in a perfect world to have a 2-fleet system. And what that means is that when one fleet is out on the road, 3 months from now, or when you hit the 6,000 mile mark, you can take the first fleet offline, put the second fleet out, and what that does is it allows for rest for the first fleet. So it's kind of a rotation system. And I worked at Highway Patrol, and I'll tell you, the cars up there last longer because the officers are off, and so when the officers are off, the cars are off, and the cars take a break. They have a rest period, and so there's not much wear and tear. I suppose to our patrol officers, these cars are driven 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and of course that takes its toll on the cars.
Did you have any response to some of the issues in the legislation that was introduced by Senator James Moylan regarding concerns he had about executive security?
No, I just recently was informed of that bill, and we're preparing a response. The executive security section is a part of the Guam Police Department. So their salaries and benefits are already folded into the overall Guam Police Department budget.
Right, but I think he was kind of talking about how executive security increased basically during the pandemic when people were supposed to be home.
Yes, Bree, I know that's a concern, but let me tell you, executive security is not the only place where there's increase in overtime throughout the department. I mean, I am using patrol officers on their day off to work at the isolation and quarantine facilities. So across the board, and it's not just the Guam Police Department. I mean, I participate, and I've talked to other directors. We've all incurred overtime costs. We've all incurred a lot of personnel costs during this pandemic from March of last year to present. And so this is not just unique to the Guam Police Department. We've spent a lot of overtime in our response to this pandemic, whether it's patrolling the parks and beaches, making sure that there's no large social gatherings. There's a lot of things that we've done in the past that people may have forgotten already. We've had the grab and go lunches. We've had the testing at Northern Public Health, Southern Public Health. So we've had to deal with these large crowds. Okudu testing. We've been in this fight for over a year, and we've incurred costs across the Guam Police Department. And this is true for Customs and Quarantine. They were helping me out. Parks and Recs, conservation officers. They've all been there by our side. Part of the public safety response.
Chief, I think maybe one of the points you can address is with this information that Senator Moylan's coming out with, people just kind of want to know that is the $2 million we're spending on executive security hampering the department's ability to protect, the regular people out in the streets? That's kind of what I think people want to know most of all.
No, Chris, that money that was spent again is because of their pandemic response, and they were not just protecting the governor, lieutenant governor, and whatever duties they had, but they were also part of our other responses. Like I said before, they were responsible for the Parks and Beach Task Force when we had to shut down the parks and beaches, make sure that there were no large gatherings. So they've been there and they've been part of that fight as well as everybody else. Yeah.
What's the update on your vaccination status?
I believe I'm actually over 70% overall. That's uniform and civilians. I think I'm at probably about 72%. So it went up a little bit. I was at 67 a couple weeks ago. Just working like every other director, trying to convince our employees that getting vaccinated is a good thing. But those that are doubtful, or don't wish, we respect that as well. But we do have our plans in place, to comply with the executive order. Honestly, I encourage them to get vaccinated. I'm vaccinated myself. It's allowed me actually, to go in and dine at the restaurants and show my card and everything. But it's a minor inconvenience, for the greater good of the community. That I'm vaccinated and everybody else is, and I encourage my officers and my civilians, to consider getting vaccinated. So, but in line with that though, we do have our testing, and I know today, starts the first day of mandatory testing. So that's something that I'll be discussing with my staff again today, or kind of a reminder. Here's the requirements, and here's what you need to do. Sorry, let me just get that.
Yeah. I wonder how many staff that is. Because what do they? I think was it Crystal who came out Friday and said there was 400 executive branch employees who have yet to be vaccinated. Chief, how many people are we talking about? If 70% of the department is vaxxed, how many are unvaxxed?
So that leaves me at about, I think, 80 to 90 people that are not vaccinated, civilians and uniform included.
And then what's the testing protocol? Do they just got to go line up at TZEN, or do you guys have test kits at the department level?
No, there was a circular.
No, actually, we do our own testing, Chris. So, we've actually been doing our own testing for quite some time already. Yeah. We're probably one of the first government agencies to administer tests. And that was born out of necessity. We were dealing with, of course, people under arrest. And there was an outbreak of COVID at DOC. So we had to come up with a mechanism to make sure that, before we put people up at DOC, that they were tested. And so that's how our test site came to be.
The budget bill, it's now law, and there's a provision in there regarding training, and we can get to that.
Yeah, we're going to jump over to the KUAM TV side, guys, on the breeze. We're KUAM FM and Agotni, Guam. But let's go over to KUAM TV on this Monday morning. Again, this is the link brought to you proudly by Pacific Points, IT&E, Cavo Enterprises, and Jack in the Box. And we're back. It's 8 o'clock. Chris, Jason, Sabrina in progress now with the Chief of Police, Chief Steve Ignacio. Sabrina?
As I was mentioning, the budget bill, which laps into law, there's a provision in there regarding requiring annual training for several of the law enforcement agencies. And so I was just wondering, when is GPD's next police training schedule?
So in a couple of weeks, we'll be starting the next police cycle. This is that small group that I talked about. There's only 6, but we had it done that way because we're combining with airport police, port police, and I think DYA and DOC. I know DOC for sure. I'm not sure about DYA yet. But we're starting, I think, on October 12th, somewhere around the mid part of October. So we're ready to start. It's a small cycle, but Bree and Chris, in that process, though, we're already starting the background investigations for the next batch, and that's about 20 officers. So, we're continuing to hire and we're continuing to fill positions. I'd like to encourage, though, people that, we're talking about people that are unemployed, they've lost their jobs, they work in the tourism industry and whatever, or those related industries. PUA has ended. And I encourage people, we still have our continuous job announcement. So that means you can come in and apply to become a police officer. So I encourage people to come in and apply, to join the Guam Police Department.
One thing we have been talking about a lot on the show with you, and I wanted to actually follow up with you, is the DNA lab. I think it's set to open in October. We're a couple days away from October. Is that still on track?
I believe so. That's a project under the Guam Community College. So if anything, I'll defer to them. I do know that for the equipment, the collateral equipment that comes with that we need for the lab, that's already, I think, put out for bid. We went with GCC. We provided the funding to them, and we worked with them as their procuring agency to get the equipment. So I know the bid was put out a couple weeks ago, and hopefully we have enough vendors out there, interested vendors or qualified vendors to get us that DNA equipment. So I'm really excited for that. That's almost, I think, close to $1 million worth of equipment that we budgeted for.
What about staffing for that lab? And do you guys have experienced and trained?
Again, that's something that we're working on with the DOA. We need to hire a couple more criminalists, but we've been having discussions already with the Forensic Science Division personnel, and there is a plan in place. It's just a matter of hiring these criminalists, bring them on, so that we can start the training.
Okay.
Oh, Chief, I wanted to recognize one of my friends who just completed, I want to say it was 30 years as a civilian volunteer police reservist, Pete Wolford.
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Pete Wolford. Yeah, many years for the Guam Police Department Reserve. I don't even remember when he started, but I'll tell you, Mr. Wolford was here for a very long time, and he finally hung up his hat. But kudos to him. I hope I want him to enjoy his retirement, and I think we should be looking forward to that. Good guy.
Is that a program? How do people, if they want to get involved with this civilian volunteer police reserve program, Chief?
Yeah, so we tried to get a police reserve training academy started. We were targeting actually those that were graduated from at least the Criminal Justice Academy at the Guam Community College. And so, we had a list of applicants, but, by the time we filtered it down, there was only about 6 that met that qualification. The thing is, a police reserve under the post-commission law has to meet the same requirements as a police officer 1. And so that means that they have to have all the same training and all the same courses as a police officer in a regular academy. And so that's the challenge that we have, so we can't just take them off the street and put them in a uniform and say, raise your right hand because now you're a police reserve. Those days are gone. They have to meet the qualifications of a PO1 under the post law. And so that means, we have to send them to training,
Speaking of the post, do you know, has anyone been hired as the executive director yet?
No, we still have an interim executive director, Mr. Bob Camacho. I just met with the incoming or the new post-commission chair, Chief Vince Perez, over the weekend. My condolences again to Dr. Fee and his family, Julie, and then the kids. I'm sorry, their children. We had the memorial service for Dr. Fee over the weekend. And, I did talk to Vince at the memorial. I said, we'd like to get the post-commission meeting so that we can discuss, getting that executive director and the support staff and kind of moving things along, following the vision of Dr. Fee, which I think is a very good vision moving forward for the post-commission.
And that vision, or at least part of that vision that I can recall, because he did that study and that assessment regarding parity, right? And especially pointing out how sad it is that GPD is getting paid, pennies compared to some of their law enforcement counterparts.
I mean, even within the government of Guam.
Right. Yeah, so I believe that provision did make it into the budget law, and so I'd have to look up that provision in the budget law, but I believe it was included in this year's budget law, where the post commission has X amount of days to come up with a recommendation for pay for law enforcement.
Well, hopefully.
I did tell I did tell Chief Perez, it'd be nice if the post commission could have a meeting sometime soon, at least to discuss those those two key issues.
Well, what do you think, Chief? What do you think is a good like entry level pay for a starting police officer?
Chris, if we're to follow where they're leading us to, which is the federal government, we're looking at about $16 to $17 an hour starting, and that's where they're leading us to. The Navy, police, Customs and Border Protection. That's where their starting pay is at, and that's just for salary.
Right.
That doesn't include benefits, and I'll tell you, we did an exit interview of some of the officers who left recently, and one of the things that they pointed out is that I'm leaving you is because not because of your salary, but because your retirement plan. How long do I have to work for you before I actually retire? The government of Guam's retirement plan is no longer attractive, and then that's the God's honest truth. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the truth. The retirement plan is not attractive anymore. These people want to work, but they also want to retire, and so they're going to look for good retirement plans where they don't they're comfortable when they retire. They actually have a plan, and that's one of the reasons why some of them have left also.
So are you aware, has there been any movement on that bill by the oversight chair? I think he introduced something that was related to addressing retirement for law enforcement officers.
Yes, I believe that provision also made it into
included?
this budget law.
Okay.
Yeah, it was included as well.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see what the study comes out with from the retirement plan or the retirement fund. But that's another issue, that people talk about, is the government of Guam retirement plan, and it's not just the retirement plan for the police, but it's government wide.
Yeah, yep. They say my grandpa's retirement plan. That's for sure.
Right. And I really just had one final question, and this was related to the ships that were here, the British Royal Navy. I know there was a lot of meetings when they arrived to be, I guess, it seemed to be more proactive, right? Well, they left yesterday, from what I understand. How did all of that go? Were there any citations or anything that were issued, or did they pretty much comply and were well behaved?
I didn't get any reports of any major issues like the last visit. And I think what it is that I think there was lessons learned from the last visit, and that we had a better plan for this visit this time. And so I haven't had any reports of any major incidents. I have my staff look into what we actually encountered, and we can talk about it the next time. But I don't have any major issues like the last visit. And I think, like I said, they had a short patrol. They had good contact numbers. We had contacts, phone numbers for each and every ship. There was 4 ships visiting, and so I think, like I said, overall it was a better visit and a smoother visit this time.
Well, kudos. I mean, you guys really kind of put them on notice. Like, hey, we're going to put up with the crap that happened last time. We want, shore patrol, and we want this and that. So good job in that regard.
It's just a matter of working with people. It was only their second visit to Guam. I think the first time it was new for everybody, and so there were lessons learned. But I mean, overall, I think it's nice to welcome these foreign ships to our island. And I think our economy could use it as well. And it's nice to meet and greet other people from other parts of the world. It broadens our horizon.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chief. Did you have?
Okay. Have a good morning.
You too, Chief. Right on.
Take care.
There you go, Chief Ignacio, Guam Police Department. Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with our 8 o'clock newscast right here on the link.
Uno Mixed. We're mixing it up on the last Thursday of every month with a look at lifestyle, entertainment, food, and so much more on the stations, networks, and digital platforms of KUAM Communications. Uno Mixed is presented to you by Docomo Pacific, Better Together, and Pepsi.
Breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. The chances that a woman will die of breast cancer is about 1 in 38. Although there is no sure way to prevent breast cancer, there are certain things that you can do, such as eat healthier and exercise. For more information about breast cancer, go to the American Cancer Society's website at cancer.org. Also, on October 22nd, we invite you to think pink by wearing the color pink on that day in solidarity of our breast cancer survivors and warriors.
This pink message is brought to you in partnership with Ordot Dental Clinic, joining the fight against cancer in honor of brave warriors, survivors, and their families. Island Cancer Center and American Cancer Society.
We know you're tired of hearing about COVID-19. Some of you are probably wondering whether this is ever going to end. However long it takes, we all have to do our part, including our children, to hold the line. You can protect yourself and your family by getting vaccinated.
And if you're already vaccinated, don't let your guard down because you can still give and get COVID-19. And if you're not vaccinated, remember that if you catch the virus, you could suffer more severe complications. At the end of the day, it's the choices we make to protect ourselves, our families, and our community that will control the spread.
We know it sounds repetitive at this point, but again, wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear your mask.
Together, we have to hold the line.
Do you feel like you're missing out on something? Make life more rewarding with Pacific Points. Earn and redeem points for bill rebates and free load at IT&E, discounts on fuel at Shell, vouchers at Foodies, and United Mileage Plus miles. You can even pay with Pacific Points at IT&E, Shell, and Foodies. Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. Want a better look at your spending? With Money Map, you can automatically create budgets and manage where your money is going. Know when you have a green light or when it's time to slow down. Maybe cook more meals at home this week. Set your goals, track your progress, and find your way to exactly where you want to be. With Money Map from the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. It all starts with yes.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by KFC and the Medical City, where patients are partners. Listen, watch, and learn from the daily Chamorro News updates from KUAM News. Catch them on The Link during the 8 o'clock hour, streaming online on Isla Radio, or on the KUAM News YouTube channel for your convenience. Tune in and stay informed, all while preserving our precious culture through the daily use of our native Chamorro language. Chamorro News updates are brought to you by your familia at First Hawaiian Bank.
93.9 FM.
18, Monday, September 27th. Let's go ahead and jump into the news now, brought to you by Pacific Points with the very latest from the KUAM News team. Sabrina Salas-Mantanani. Good morning, Sabrina.
Off a day, everybody. Since Friday night, Guam has recorded a total of 276 new positive cases of COVID out of 2,160 tests that were performed. More tests need to be analyzed from the weekend. The latest results will be included in tonight's JIC report. To date, there have been a total of 14,374 officially reported cases, 184 deaths, 3,185 cases are in isolation, and 11,005 have recovered. As of September 24th, the CAR score is 25.7. As of Sunday, the Joint Information Center reports 67 people hospitalized, 14 receiving ICU level of care, 9 on ventilators. Out of the 67 hospitalizations, 36 unvaccinated, 8 unknown, 23 vaccinated. To date, a total of 118,756. That is 87.1% of Guam's eligible population is fully vaccinated. Free COVID testing in the meantime continues today in Tidzin up until noon, and at the Southern Region Community Health Center also up until noon. With more news, here's Tomas Menglotnya.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Half a day, good morning everyone. I'm Tomas Manglona with your headlines here on The Link. An heir to a multi-million-dollar fortune pleads guilty to drug charges in a federal court in the state of Idaho. What does this have to do with Guam? According to court documents, some of those drugs were being smuggled here in Palau.
He was born into poverty, but later elevated to millionaire status after years of litigation, which ultimately confirmed he was one of several heirs to the late billionaire Larry Hillblum, the co-founder of shipping company DHL. Hillblum was a resident of Saipan. He died in a plane crash in 1995. After his death, several women alleged he fathered their children. After years of trying to establish paternity, it was confirmed that Larry Hillblum Jr. was in fact his son. Hillblum was living the high life, but not in a good way. In 2005, in Guam, he was busted for drugs. In 2017, he was charged with drug trafficking in Palau. In June of last year, Hillblum was indicted in the District Court of Idaho, along with Morgan Kenny and Sean Robert Wathan, for conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. Later that same year, in October, a superseding indictment included Zachary Craig Carlson in the conspiracy. On September 1st of this year, Hillblum signed a plea agreement. In that plea agreement, he admits that in the summer of 2015 through February 2016, he was involved in an organization which distributed meth. He and other co-conspirators would transport meth from North Idaho to Guam and Palau through international airports. They would conceal a mixture and substance containing meth in varied ways, either on their person or in their luggage, and pass through airport security. Once in Guam and Palau, the co-conspirators would meet with them and other local contacts, providing them with the drugs so that it could be distributed. Although his plea agreement left out some of the intricacies of the drug conspiracy, the sentencing memo filed involving co-defendant Morgan Kenny provided more details about this multi-million-dollar drug ring. Kenny, it turns out, is his younger half-brother. He moved from Palau to live with his brother Hillblum in Hope, Idaho, when he was 21 years old. He is now 35 and admitted to being involved in the drug conspiracy with his brother. He admitted he traveled at least 3 times to Guam and Palau to sell drugs. Court documents reveal that his brother's trip was part of several others involving multiple people in Hillblum's network. For this particular conspiracy, Hillblum allegedly bought a total of 108 pounds of meth from 2 suppliers in Washington. He traveled over 25 times along with co-conspirators to and from Palau and Guam, where he would sell the 108 pounds of meth for $24.5 million. Hillblum is scheduled to be sentenced in the U.S. District Court of Idaho before Judge B. Lynn Windmill on February 28, 2022.
It's been a hectic month to say the least for the Department of Revenue and Taxation. Director Daphne Shimizu says they've been working simultaneously on multiple projects, including processing of the All Rise and Advanced Child Tax Credit payments. Shimizu says a majority of applications are now being filed online now, and the same vendor is working on the programming.
So we launched the All Rise program, and now we launched the Advanced Child Tax Credit. So on the back end now, the portal is being worked on for the Advanced Child Tax Credit. But we will have more definite dates on that. But we're slated to go ahead and open the portal in October.
Meanwhile, Shimizu says they're now processing the manually filed All Rise applications, as well as reviewing about 6,700 claims that were set aside because of errors.
We're hopeful that we'll be able to get the majority of payments out to people. Actually already 26.2 million has been paid out. And, we are expecting, though, that we will exceed the original, what was indicated, the 30 million. But of course, Governor has indicated that is something that, we'll be able to identify funds for. So, that should not be an issue.
A final total for the All Rise program payments is not yet available. And the Guam Department of Education is working to finalize their COVID-19 testing plan as the October 1st deadline is just around the corner and students return to school for face-to-face learning. KUAM's Isaiah Uggan has this report.
Executive Order 2021-23 allows the resumption of face-to-face instruction for all schools, but they also must submit a COVID-19 screening testing plan by October 1st. It is an added layer of their COVID mitigation efforts. GDOE Superintendent John Fernandez said in a media meeting yesterday that they are still ironing out the details of the COVID testing plan.
So, we are working to finalize the testing plan. As you know, it's due by October 1st. And we have put in a request to the governor's office for the supply of the available tests. And so our understanding is that they are going to get back to us with regard to delivery of the rapid tests as they become available. So we're still pending receipt of a supply of tests. And then, once we get those tests and finalize the plan, then we can implement it as directed.
Fernandez pointed out that some 160 GDOE employees have been trained to administer the Abbott Binax rapid test. The governor's most recent executive order encourages flexibility for face-to-face learning, meaning allowing students to stay online if necessary. Fernandez reiterated that students originally enrolled into the face-to-face model of learning will have to return to their campuses for in-person instruction this Monday, and that no students can switch to the remote learning module due to the shortage of teachers.
I think part of that flexibility was already exercised when we went ahead and designed an opportunity to keep students online while trying to also provide the in-class instruction for those who return face-to-face. So again, the limitation there is really the ability to support students who are in school versus students who are online, and that really has to do with the number of teachers and our teaching shortage at the moment. So no further change has taken place with regard to the online model of learning. If you were face-to-face coming into the school year, you are expected to return to face-to-face instruction.
Fernandez has this message for parents unsure about sending their child or children back to classes for face-to-face learning.
We will continue to monitor the community situation. We will continue to monitor and report on our GDOE COVID-19 cases to make sure people are informed. And again, we will continue to act in an abundance of caution should we see a situation that requires us to change course.
GDOE noted that 85% of employees are fully vaccinated against the virus. Reporting for Guam's News Network, Guahusi Isaiah.
That's it for now. We'll see you tonight for KUAM News Primetime.
This news update is brought to you by Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Of course, it is Monday. Absolutely fantastic island weather yesterday. The sky was the bluest of blue. The grass was green. Nice breeze and everything like that. Landon over at the NWS, please tell me that is what we can expect. At least for today. I'll take today. I'll take what I can
that is what you can expect at least for today.
Yes.
Are you happy?
Okay.
Well,
I don't know if I should treat you like a weather forecaster or a stockbroker at this point.
I don't know. As long as I get paid, that's all that matters.
There you go. Good money if you're a
But
hedge
yeah.
fund manager.
Yeah, so it's definitely a beautiful day today, and that's going to continue at least through Tuesday into Wednesday. We had a pretty good weekend once we got through Saturday morning. I had a phone call, actually a couple phone calls waking me up between the 6 o'clock and 7:30 Saturday morning hours, and I'm in bed, and it jolted me awake and asking about the weather for Saturday morning activities going on across the island. So I had no clue what the weather was, and I said hello, and my voice kind of just squeaked in the phone. I'm like, what the heck just happened to my voice? I had lost my voice from all the briefings and interviews and meetings that were going on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I've never had that. So I've been drinking hot tea over the weekend, but my voice is pretty much back to normal. Nice. Beautiful day today, beautiful day tomorrow, and into Wednesday. But then it's going to start shifting back to more of a typical wet season, trade wind type pattern. But let me flip my camera around. I'm going to start showing you some animated loops. Do you know what that is, Jason?
I want to say, well, it's also going counterclockwise too, which is abnormal, I would say.
It's typical of a, let's call it cyclonic motion. Hint, hint.
oh boy.
There's our beast. This is what was Tropical Storm Mindul that came through Guam and the Mariana Islands Thursday night into Friday. That thing since blossomed into a monster super typhoon over the weekend. So it reached super typhoon intensity about 12 hours ago with peak winds of 165 mile per hour sustained winds.
And your forecast actually said that. It said once it got like past us, way past the Marianas to the west-northwest, headed up like towards Iwo Jima, it got bad.
Yeah, we were expecting a rapid intensification trend, and indeed it did that. So my big concern last week, we were talking about my facial expressions last week in our discussions. When it comes to these tropical systems, especially in their developmental stages right near our area, that's when it's not so much fun and games, but it's all down to business trying to figure out the best call and the latest analysis to see what exactly is going on over here with these systems. Because my all-time fear, as well as all forecasters here in this office and in the tropics, is that these things would start rapidly intensifying before landfall. And of course, that's going to happen. Eventually, we are going to get that hit that we will remember for years and years down the road. And we've been very fortunate for 20-some years.
Does it speak to the evolution of that weather system that, last time we talked to you, you were even saying, it was very broken up. It was very, like schizophrenic, let's call it, because it was all these a patchwork of all these systems. Now it looks like a really, really tight spiral that's just that.
Yeah.
Do you know how wide across that thing is? That's huge.
Yeah, I did not get a chance to check the eye diameter of it, but I believe it was probably upwards of the size of Guam.
Wow.
So I think if I could get a good measurement from overnight satellite, Guam in its entirety probably could fit within its eye at its peak. Let me go to infrared so we have a good steady look at that thing from overnight. And again, it looked like a donut. When you see a tropical cyclone, a typhoon that looks the shape of a donut, well formed, this one's not so good. It's been fragmenting since the last 6 to 12 hours. But when it has that donut feature, and it's very symmetric with the colors in the infrared scheme and the visible satellite, those donuts, you want to avoid those because donuts mean very well-formed, vertically stacked typhoon, likely of a super typhoon intensity. So think back to Super Typhoon U2, Super Typhoon Haiyan, and other monsters in the West Pacific. Those have that beautiful symmetric characteristic. It's just a perfectly formed circle. So those are what we want to avoid in our local area. We do not want them coming at us, but it's a matter of time before it's going to be our turn. Saipan and Tinian have had a number of hits. They had Typhoon Pseudolor, Super Typhoon U2, and then Mangkhut that bulldozed over Rhoda, missed us by 40 miles to the north. So tis the season, and we are going to have some changes.
Yeah, where is she now, and who does she threaten at this point? I'm saying she. Right I'm assuming it is a feminine, right?
Well, it's a dandelion. It's called Mindul, and it's Korean for dandelion. So I would say it was a dandelion when it passed to the Marianas, but now it's probably more like a Venus flytrap on steroids.
Yeah, that's no flower I want to give to my prom date. No.
So luckily, nobody's at threat of this thing. It looks like it's going to be going just west of Iwo-to or Iwo Jima Island and then avoiding Japan in its long-term track. So that's the good news. This thing's going to stay out to sea. It's now has been reduced to a Category 3 typhoon with maximum sustained winds down to 125 miles per hour. So that is the good news regarding this one. Otherwise, there are no suspect areas in the region. We are watching a circulation right here. Sometimes when there's a large typhoon, you can get another system spinning up about 15 to 20 degrees away from it. And so we have a circulation here, but this will pose no threat to anybody in our region as it drifts northwards. So that's the good news. But weather-wise, we are very quiet. We are within a ridge. The stream, the surface winds coming down and then go right up into the typhoon. So that ridge will keep us in a fair weather pattern with that suppression, sinking air aloft, keeping things fairly dry across the Mariana Islands. And then the winds will start resuming from the south today. So let's go ahead and cue up the slides, Jason. We'll talk about the week ahead. Of course, our typhoon continues away from the Mariana Islands today, and that's no longer a threat to anybody in our region. That's inclusive of Palau, the Federated States of Micronesia, the Mariana Islands, including the far northern islands, and Philippines. So we've had a number of questions on our Facebook page. Is it going to hit the Philippines? It is not going to hit the Philippines. As a result of this super typhoon, and it's slowly moving to the north, it will be generating some large swell that will make its approach to the Mariana Islands later today. So the risk of rip currents is currently moderate along north, east, and west-facing reefs. We could go to high risk of rip currents along north and west, and I'll get to that shortly. The Guam fire danger is low. We had an abundant rainfall last week and over the weekend because of this system, and not much change across Micronesia. So the next slide, current conditions, not too bad. It's a little chilly out there across Guam, 79 degrees as of 7 o'clock hour with southeast winds light at about 3 miles per hour. That's going to continue in that direction for the next several days until the trade winds resume mid to late week. Rainfall was just a trace yesterday, but we did bump up our totals for the month to 11 inches, and that brings us closer to more normal. The next slide showing the state of the drought across the region. Still not too bad, holding steady with abnormally dry to moderate drought across far eastern Micronesia and Kapinga Maringi and far southern Pohnpei State. The next slide, Super Typhoon Mindul, that is now degraded to a Category 3 regular typhoon. This is the expired Joint Typhoon Warning Center graphic from earlier this morning as that thing moves away. Now the next slide, this is the current track as of 7 o'clock this morning, showing that Category 3 typhoon moving northward into the North Pacific away from us. But notice this plot on the right-hand side of the screen. This is a polar orbiting satellite-based winds over the open ocean. You know, when we have these developing systems, and we were talking about multiple circulation centers last week when it was trying to get its act together, that was a mitigating factor because in these systems, when they're like a disturbance or a weak depression, they're trying to get better developed. And sometimes you can have several low-level circulations. That's not so much that you're dealing with multiple storms. It's just multiple low-level circulations revolving around a centroid circulation. Once they get in sync and consolidate, that's when they start to take off as far as intensification trends. Unfortunately, when this stage is happening, this data strip always misses where we want to get the data. Usually our disturbance is in this blank area, so we have no data. But once it gets past us, it seems to nail it every time. So we get that data. And note these this strong, large wind field. The typhoon force winds extend 50 miles from the center and up to 175 miles from the center. So if this thing was passing over Rota, every one of the Marianas would be feeling tropical storm force winds or greater. So that's just a note of its size of the system. The next slide shows the broader region. Not much to be concerned about, just trade winds across eastern Micronesia. The ITCZ is still generating showers and thunderstorms in Koh Samui and Pohnpei. Again, no suspect areas for tropical development, at least through this week. So that's the good news with ridging, keeping things fair across the Marianas, Yap, and Palau. The next slide, I do want to bring note that we have 3 buoys in the region. The only one that's active right now is the Ipan buoy just off of Jeff's Pirates Cove in southern Guam. So this is not going to show you the full picture because in that center picture, you show the Ipan buoy just east of Guam. That is protected from any north, northwest, and west swell. So that's going to be the concern for the coming days. will be west and northwest swell. So this EPAM buoy will not pick up on that. That's why these the wave forecast in the left-hand chart, it's flatlined at about 1 to 3 feet for the next week. But on the west side, the seas and swell will be much higher to near hazardous surf levels. So combined seas of 4 to 6 feet today will be building over the next couple days, and our surf could reach hazardous levels of 9 feet or greater along west and north-facing reefs. So watch out for that, especially if you'll be on the west side of the island. That would be Agate, Umatic. If you like surfing and stuff, Umatic Bay is going to be bumping up there later this week and upwards towards Retidian, Tuman, and Agana Boat Basin area.
Yeah, I took a drive around this weekend and I passed through Adelup, and the bay over there. It looked like the waves. It wasn't so much that the waves were really big and they were crashing. It just seemed like the sea was really abnormally high than normal.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the currents are much stronger. I was talking to Mary Bell Kenyatta at Retidian Wildlife Refuge, and they said they were closed for the weekend because of the stronger currents. So the surf wasn't quite hazardous, which is a red flag for them for operations. But the currents are much stronger because we had that monsoon wind flow. So you had a lot more currents and stronger activity in the waters there. So as an abundance of caution, they went ahead and shut down for the week. That's going to be the case probably beginning late Tuesday night into Wednesday, Thursday along west and north facing reefs. So keep your minds focused on that and check our surf zone forecast on our webpage. So for today and Tuesday, mostly sunny, isolated showers, not bad at all if you want to be outside. Midweek, continued fair weather, but then by the weekend, we're going to see more showers and thunderstorms reaching the area probably later into Thursday, Friday, and then again on Sunday with surface troughs coming through the region. And again, the big threat for this week will be hazardous surf developing along west and or north-facing reefs. So really not that bad weather-wise, but the surf conditions will be peaking up there with that long period swell. So it's going to be beautiful out there, but keep that in mind that even though it's sunny and fair outside, the seas and surf could be hazardous.
And so do not tempt Mother Nature, everybody. You know, like we can't emphasize that enough. Landon, before I let you go, I just want to say, you know, like you were showing us these charts and everything, and a thought crossed my mind because, you know, as storms do, you know, that you've described them, and your predecessor Chip Gardner described them. You know, these are living, breathing things. They feed off energy. You know, they look for electricity and whatnot, and the whole science behind it. But they move, they get stronger, they fizzle out. Sometimes they get even stronger. What is the longest historically that a storm has been, you know, at peak strength and like moved around there? Because typically, like on Guam, we're used to like we'll get like maybe 2 days, maybe even 3 days in extreme situations of really, really bad weather. What's the longest like a storm's just ever been like just really ornery?
Yeah, that's a tough question, and it depends within our area of responsibility, which includes Palau to the Marshall Islands. If something develops in the Marshall Islands and it moves its way slowly through the region, we could be dealing with a storm event in our office operations for 5 or 6 days, and that's a long, grueling time period for operations. But outside of our region, the West Pacific, you can get a developing system in the eastern watch area of our area, and it can be going for upwards of a week to a week and a half, and that would be 6 hourly bulletins for at least 40, sometimes 50 cycles. And so those are some of the longer track systems that develop in the Marshall Islands, and they track through the region, and they start curving slowly. They might stall up somewhere near Okinawa or northern Philippines, and then go up into the Korean Peninsula. And so those systems, they can get about 40, sometimes 50 bulletins, and those are kind of rare. Usually it's in the range of 20 to 30 bulletins every 6 hours.
Yeah, didn't Hurricane Katrina hammered like the Gulf Coast for like what, 3-4 straight days, right?
Yeah, that one was moving slowly through the Gulf, and I can pull up that map. I have to look on our archives to find out the details of that. But it was it sped up about 5 days before making landfall, and then it moved slowly up into the landmass, and it wreaked pure havoc over there for sure with the storm surge and the intense rainfall. So the Atlantic, they're taking the brunt this year. They have a lot of storms, a lot of named systems and landfalling systems, whereas it's much slower in our area. So that's the good news for us.
All right. Well, he's not only a teacher of science, he's also a student of history, everybody. And he's a happy NC State grad, because, of course, you guys beat Clemson. So congratulations.
Yeah, that was a big win for us. So that's one of the
that was icing on the cake after you put in so many hours this past week covering the storm for us. So thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it.
It was almost a 70-hour work week, but it's worth it.
Well, you earned your money, man. All right. Have a good one.
See y'all.
All right. We appreciate it as always.
Thanks, Landon. Saturday morning, Public Health issued the anticipated guidelines that schools need to complete their testing plans. The governor ordered that all schools shall submit reopening plans that includes a testing plan to Public Health no later than the 1st of October. Public Health has also finally made available the forms to file for a medical or religious exemption from receiving a COVID shot. You can find the forms at dphss.guam.gov. A 48-year-old man who was shot while allegedly breaking into a Dededo barber shop has been arrested. Albert Torres Titautau sustained a single gunshot wound in the early morning hours of the 15th when he broke into Dave's barber shop. Shop owner Dave Cadavis told us he was defending himself when he told the intruder to stop. Titautau, however, did not listen and had to be transported to GRMC for treatment. According to a magistrate's complaint, Titautau was charged with burglary as a second-degree felony. Police arrested Titautau on Friday on initial charges of home invasion, burglary, criminal mischief, theft of property, aggravated assault, and use of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony. The recent environmental damage to the once pristine Marbo Cave area has prompted a move to toughen the penalties against violators. Contractor Samsung E&C was issued a notice of violation by Guam EPA, and the Attorney General also filed a complaint against the company for failing to follow the soil erosion and sediment control law. Currently, the maximum fine is $125,000, but a bill by Speaker Therese Terlahi discussed during Friday's session would lift the cap completely. Terlahi says it's not intended to resolve the Marbo Cave issue, but it is meant to provide more teeth to the regulations. The bill was moved to the third reading file for a later vote. Session resumes today. And with your news in Chamorro, here is Ken Concepcion.
Buenos updates to get soon to be finut sa morgan ni KUAM News. Presenta ni Familian Mizo gi First Hawaiian Bank. Mansenti na ni paguna sa Department of Revenue and Taxation. Linya Direktor adyo na ahensya si Daphne Shimizu na sanmigay na project siya mapatututui dahil po ma-process si All-Rise ni Advanced Child Tax Credit na inapas. Asangan ay madzon na aplikasyon para STCA sa entry internet sa parewa na vendor from matututui programa siya. Asangan mas na ma-process at di masadmiti siya na aplikasyon i All-Rise sa marebisisita kasi size meet 700 na klama numanasangay sa pudlinatsi. Tata trabayan estiman kwanto po todo para maapasi huzong para All-Rise na programa. Masa sultu, maaresta di ko rin tayo 8 anyos na tao ni mapaki. Ani akat mi isagan badbero giza dededo. Siguro release gin ni Guam Police Department. Si Albert Torres Titautau sa padesi un solo na pinaki. Gitaftag giagan September 15. Ani akat mi Dave's Barbershop. Idweno si Dave Cadavis sa sangani KUAM News na defendant mamay sagwi. Ani sangani hunmat may paraw-para. Tumekungog si Titautau dahil sutumos makoni para Guam Regional Medical City para maamti. Segundo complaint ni magistrates, ma-charge si Titautau por burglary ni segundo grado na felony. Ma-arresta gimapas na bed ni sa permit na charge siya ni home invasion, burglary, criminal mischief, theft of property, aggravated assault, and the use of a deadly weapon in commission of a felony. Ito muna sunto gifinut sa morgan ni KUAM News para paguna Lunes. Ikoten West Alberto Tolentino masintensya si Lawrence Vincent Vergerger para 4 anyos gipreso por ataka ang 4 anyos na padgon. Sentensyon niya sa Parao Committee Criminal Sexual Conduct tatigi 2020 na sakan. Gihunyo na mes sigining prosecuting attorney Corny Solis ana siguro este na kinimbikta siguni plea agreement yun na previous West Jonathan R. Kwan. Anota si Solis na futin este na kausa sa pulidat niya ibiktima dyan na sensat sa gayan na son niya dyan familiar niya kung managwaha trial. Isinangan ibiktima dyan sinanan niya sa maseng konsidera antis yung ma-ofresi si Titautau ni plea agreement. Para Guam News Network, Guam si Ken Concepcion. Yasuto yung finut sa moro sa presenta dyan na foto ni Familian Mizo gi First Hawaiian Bank.
Say hello to the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. Got a question about your finances? You've come to the right place. Bring all your accounts together, even those that aren't with us, and see the big picture, right down to the smallest detail. Unlock powerful tools like Insights and Money Map that help you save time and take control of your finances. When you connect accounts with the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, it all starts with yes.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Do you feel like you're missing out on something? Make life more rewarding with Pacific Points. Earn Earn and redeem points for bill rebates and free load at IT&E. Discounts on fuel at Shell. Vouchers at Foodies. And United Mileage Plus miles. You can even pay with Pacific Points at IT&E, Shell, and Foodies. Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by KFC and the Medical City, where patients are partners.
Breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. The chances that a woman will die of breast cancer is about 1 in 38. Although there is no sure way to prevent breast cancer, there are certain things that you can do, such as eat healthier and exercise. For more information about breast cancer, go to the American Cancer Society's website at cancer.org. Also, on October 22nd, we invite you to think pink by wearing the color pink on that day in solidarity of our breast cancer survivors and warriors.
This pink message is brought to you in partnership with Ordot Dental Clinic, joining the fight against cancer in honor of brave warriors, survivors, and their families. Island Cancer Center and American Cancer Society.
KUAM's multi-platform morning show, The Link, just got a little more delicious with Feed Me Fridays. Chris, Sabrina, Jason, and the rest of the morning crew will take some time off each Friday to talk, taste, and tempt you with all the latest and greatest food and drinks on Guam. Old faves, new hits, and everything else we can put in our bellies. It's Feed Me Fridays on The Link, brought to you by King's Restaurants, Ruby Tuesday Guam, and Devondale.
Uno Mixed. We're mixing it up on the last Thursday of every month with a look at lifestyle, entertainment, food, and so much more on the stations, networks, and digital platforms of KUAM Communications. Uno Mixed is presented to you by Docomo Pacific, Better Together, and Pepsi.
See what's on TV tonight with schedules, network news and notes, local promotions and giveaways on KUAM Communications social media pages. Like and follow us on Facebook or Instagram now for all the latest and never miss out.
Whopper on Whopper Wednesdays. All you do is buy one Whopper and say, I love, love, love the Whopper, and you get a second one absolutely free. It's also brought to you in part by Docomo Pacific.
Bye bye, my tomu, aligaw
June makes the best malasadas in Hawaii, a fact not lost on Darrow, whose brother Byron is cooking the onaga he caught at his secret fishing spot with his girlfriend Malia, who used to work for the Shave Ice Guy, whose second cousin Vince drives the school bus ridden by Calais, whose auntie makes the best malasadas in Hawaii. Everything here is connected, and with the new First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, you can stay just as connected to your finances, and it all starts with yes.
Do you feel like you're missing out on something? Make life more rewarding with Pacific Points. Earn and redeem points for bill rebates and free load at IT&E, discounts on fuel at Shell, vouchers at Foodies, and United Mileage Plus miles. You can even pay with Pacific Points at IT&E, Shell, and Foodies. Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
This season, KUAM Communications is ready to go with more games, more championships, and more sports specials guaranteed to bring out the fan in you. Don't miss a minute of gameplay from NBC on KUAM TV8 or from CBS on KUAM TV11. We're bringing you all the action and excitement brought to you locally by Michelob Ultra, the superior light beer, Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape, and Docomo Pacific.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Looking for TV schedules, upcoming sports, or special presentations, or what you may have missed over the busy week you had? Well, look no further than KUAM Digital Digest. This weekly emailed newsletter puts all kinds of information in the hands of subscribers each and every week. Just subscribe and we will make sure you keep up with your favorites and stay informed and entertained throughout it all. Go to KUAM.com, click on the newsletter tab, give us your email address, and you are all set. Brought to you in digital partnership with King's Restaurant and Ruby Tuesday Guam. It's the KUAM Digital Digest, your weekly guide to the latest information and best entertainment on the stations and platforms of KUAM.
KUAM TV has been on the air for 65 years. 65 years of growing, changing, and adapting to the needs of our local community. 65 years of making you smile, laugh, and cheer, and being there for you in times of tears and heartbreak, and learning to heal together. We've kept you on the edge of your seats, been a trusted source for you to turn to, weathered many storms together, and celebrated life's big moments. And now at 65, we celebrate all the firsts we brought you over the years, and all the firsts that lie ahead as our world changes. KUAM TV, celebrating 65 years of firsts on Guam.
See what's on TV tonight with schedules, network news and notes, local promotions and giveaways on KUAM Communications social media pages. Like and follow us on Facebook or Instagram now for all the latest and never miss out.
Catch SportsLink on the KUAM News Morning Show, The Link, every Friday to hear about the latest in sports news, game schedules, athlete profiles, and more. SportsLink,
brought to you each week by Cure Alkaline Water and Mariana's Irrigation and Landscape,
airs every Friday across the multimedia platforms of KUAM. Tune into the broadcast on Breeze 93.9 FM, on KUAM TV 11, live streaming through the KUAM News Facebook page, or view highlights on YouTube, KUAM News Facebook, and Instagram. SportsLink is hosted by Dave Delgado through KUAM Sports, and he will make sure that everyone knows what is happening on the fields, in the gyms, and everywhere in between.
The world of television is more exciting than ever. Don't miss a minute of special presentations from NBC on KUAM TV 8 or from CBS on KUAM TV 11. Every month, we'll bring you the fun and excitement of award shows and red carpet moments, special series presentations, and other great network programs. Brought to you locally by King's Restaurant, Ruby Tuesday Guam, Bud Light Seltzer, and Docomo Pacific, giving you more reasons to tune in and turn on. Fall in love with TV again with the best from KUAM Communications.
KUAM Communications continues our perpetuation of our Chamorro culture, language, and heritage, with features available to our listening and viewing audience, including streaming of Chamorro music 24 hours per day on Isla Digital Radio on KUAM.com and the KUAM News app. Chamorro News Update, weekdays on The Link and the KUAM News YouTube channel. Conversations about life in our Chamorro language podcast, Cuentos Tapoco, with Kin Conception. Seasonal specials, shows, and other features highlighting the beauty of our language, culture, and history. It's a new era of our continued commitment to our Chamorro heritage. Isla, watch, listen, stream. Viva Isla!
Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down.
All right, welcome back to The Link, everybody. Monday, so you are starting your work week with us. Glad to let you take us along for the ride, whichever format you're joining us in. We want to tell you about the COVID testing and vaccination opportunities. If you or your family wants to know your status, as the mayors are emphatically telling everybody, COVID testing Monday through Saturday is being held at the Old Teedzin Carnival grounds in the mid part of the island from 8 in the morning until high noon, so 8 to 12 over in Teedzin, and then Mondays and Fridays only down in Inalahan from 9 in the morning until 12. That's, of course, for testing. If you would like to get vaccinated, now pay attention. This one can be a little bit tricky if you're not taking notes. At UOG, right, Monday through Wednesday, and then Friday and Saturday in Mingilao at UOG, 11 in the morning until 5 p.m. Last appointment being taken at 4:30. So 11 to 5 at UOG, Monday through Wednesday, and Friday and Saturday. Down in Inalahan again at the Southern Region Community Health Center, Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 9 in the morning till 12 in the afternoon, and Thursdays and Saturdays up here in Dedido at the Micronesia Mall, 11 to 6. And over in Dedido at the Northern Region Community Health Center, Mondays 9 to 12 and Fridays 1 to 4. Everybody got that? All right.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
I told you take notes.
Right on.
See, I told you buying that Apple Pencil was a good investment.
It's 9:01. Good morning. Let's into the KUAM News Zoom room where we have hospital spokesperson May Habib. Good morning, May.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina and Jason. Good morning, Guam. Good morning.
I'll give you a comment, CG.
All right. You ready?
I hope so. What's coming? Uh-oh.
Yeah, nothing crazy. With low energy Monday, so don't expect anything
All
too
right,
crazy.
those are my favorite. I'm only going to agree to interviews with you guys on Monday.
All right, so I guess we'll just start with our hospital census on this Monday morning, May.
Sure thing. So we're at 167 total patients, of which 36 are COVID. And of those 36, 8 are in the ICU, 6 of those are on vents.
Have you guys recorded any COVID-related fatalities since Thursday was the last time we received any information?
Yeah, I know that the official sort of communication channel for this is through the JIC, but I will tell you that it was a very difficult weekend. At GMH, I can only ever speak for GMH. Of course,
Right.
the JIC is sort of cumulative of what has happened and a wider look at the island. But I can tell you that we had several DOAs over the weekend, as well as people who were being treated here at GMH who passed as well. So, and I believe there was another DOA overnight, actually. Again, I'm only speaking for GMH, so I do anticipate. It was a really hard weekend. Yeah, it was a really difficult weekend in terms of COVID deaths. And that is the natural progression, right? So we see community illnesses, we see a rise in cases, and then we see a rise in hospitalizations. And then as people are hospitalized and as they are critical, especially, the treatment can only go so far. And if they have tons of comorbidities or so many issues that, even if they had a quote unquote normal flu or a normal quote unquote case of pneumonia, it would have been really difficult for them to survive as well. And then sort of the tail end of that circle, this vicious cycle of COVID, is that we do see deaths. And that's why I think we're seeing more deaths being reported.
Mm-hmm. You said several. Can you put a number to that?
I know that by Saturday evening, we had 5. I'd have to go through and check. And like I said, I know that there was another one overnight. So I know that between Friday and today, just at GMH, between DOAs and in-house, we're looking at about
6 COVID-related fatalities over the weekend. Oh, my God.
Were any of them children?
No, I believe all of them were not children, like not pediatric patients. And in fact, we don't have any pediatric COVIDs here in the hospital, admitted in the hospital as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say that there aren't children testing positive. We are seeing parents bringing in their children for various symptoms and then they test positive, but they're able to isolate and continue, normal care at home. But we have no pediatric COVID patients.
Mm-hmm. What about over the age of 15?
I mean, I think pediatrics is 18 and under.
18?
So I think anybody would have been older than that. I don't recall seeing anybody in the 20s. I think everybody was 50 and over. I'd have to go back and look at the ages. But I think I don't want to misspeak, but I believe everybody was over the age of 50 at least.
Mm-hmm. Then I guess with the morgue, has the cold storage unit, is it called a reefer? Has it been brought over to GMH?
It has not been brought over yet. I know that the work is underway and the conversations continue of the planning with the gun to bring over the materials and have it ready as soon as possible. There's no final date of when that's coming, but it's still something that is tracking on our end.
Mm-hmm. What about the team of nurses that has been requested? Is there any update?
Yeah, so it's we've gotten confirmation that they are in fact trying to send us people. I think it's looking like it will be 15 nurses. I think I've mentioned this before, but there's such a stretch on the active duty community that it will end up being reserve nurses who are actually, I think, already sort of deployed in various areas to support the COVID efforts. Is just sort of their next, where are you going next? But they are reservists. We're expecting them hopefully by the end of this week, early next week. We don't have final confirmation. When you're dealing with such a big beast, and DOD themselves and FEMA themselves, they have so many moving pieces to try to figure out themselves, but we are really hoping for the help as soon as possible. Hopefully, like I said, by the end of this week or early next week, we should have boots on the ground, so to speak, and get them into the hospital.
RegenCov shipments, did you guys get anything else?
You know what, actually, we did get a shipment over the weekend. Our team was there to receive it right at the airport. So shout out to our team for being there. I know that it was a shipment of 480 vials over the weekend. And then we were able to grab that. But the Gung and FEMA are now dealing with the monoclonal clinic itself. So the vial division will sort of be based on that, where the need is. But I know that we got another shipment of 480 vials over the weekend.
So GMH is getting their own shipment, and then you guys give it to public health. I guess there was some kind of confusion, like is public health getting their own shipment and then GMH getting their own shipment, or it's just one big shipment and you guys divvy it out?
It is one shipment.
Okay.
So far, nothing has changed in our ordering structure. And GMH, basically the way it works is HHS will let us know what we can order. Like, what is our allocation that we can put the order in, and then we put the order in, and then once it comes, it's divvied up among the various clinics that need it. So between us, between GRMC, and then now, of course, the Gung is running in Manila, the monoclonal treatment center there.
And are people actually taking advantage of it over, at least at GMH?
From everything I've seen, people have been taking advantage of it. I have seen very few people that have, in the chats that I'm privy to and in the conversations that I'm privy to anyways, that are saying no. But I think, we're capable of doing about 7 to 10 a day. I don't know that we're maxed out at that, but whenever somebody is eligible for it, I think a lot of people are trying to get it.
Okay. Anything else going on over at GMH that the public should be aware of?
We're working hard. I can tell you that the staff is really exhausted. The frontline staff is really exhausted. It's been a long stretch. This really started at the beginning of August. We started to see an upswing. So it's been nearly 2 months. The message really is still get vaccinated from us, because again, even though there are breakthrough cases, the chances of you surviving, your mortality rate and the severity rate and the acuity rate are greatly increased by having this vaccine. So we really still encourage a lot of people, as many people as possible, to get vaccinated. This morning, actually, if I can say thank you to PenFed, to the staff at PenFed, they made a delivery for our frontliners. They stopped by with breakfast and coffee for our frontliners, which, is a very little thing, but it goes such a long way. When you're putting in time and overtime and not seeing your family and just sort of in the grind of things, you kind of lose perspective, and having that thank you from the community and that backing. And we get a lot of donations. This just happened to be the one from this morning. So I really did want to give them a shout out today for that.
And I guess just, has there been any other new infections over there at GMH?
Employee-wise?
Yes.
We have had, our most recent was confirmed on Saturday. So our most recent one was confirmed on this weekend, yeah. Again, a lot of it is community spread. A lot of it is household infection and being out, and the reality of being in multi-generational homes or having just COVID in the community. If people are catching it, then of course our people are exposed as well. So our most recent employee was just this weekend. And I've said this before, and I'll emphasize it again. I can't say enough about our infection control teams here. We also implement in-house the SARA Alert program. So all our employees are required to report daily their symptoms so that we can track and sort of try to get ahead of things. If somebody's coming in and says, hey, I have a bit of a scratchy throat, or this weird cough developed overnight, we can catch it right away and quarantine them and then test them at the appropriate times, because sometimes if you test early, somebody will show negative, but in fact, the virus is still incubating. But in terms of employees, right away, infection control gets involved, contact tracing, people are put in quarantine and tested, which comes down to another reason of staff exhaustion, because between quarantining and isolation, that takes away from the staff that's able to be here in rotation.
I know you mentioned that a lot of it is from the community, but has any of the infections occurred at GMH?
A handful of the cases have, but it's not because of dealing with COVID. Actually, the irony is that none of them have been dealing with COVID, because when you're going in to deal with COVID, you're donned in extreme PPE. You know, you almost look like you're going to like a biohazardous wasteland, you know, with really fully covered. Most of what has happened at GMH, which again is a very limited amount of cases, has been people that are going in to treat for, say somebody comes in for a broken leg, right? Hypothetically speaking, and they're coming in and they, you know, our staff goes in with a mask, which is the proper, like a surgical mask, obviously, or a KN95, and goes and deals with that person. And then that person ends up being positive. So they didn't actually come in for COVID or COVID-like symptoms at all. You know, they were in something completely different, like something like a broken leg, broken arm, sprained, whatever. They come in, and then when they're admitted, obviously they're tested, and we've been dealing with them. And then if they turn out to be positive, those have been, and even those have been really a few cases.
All right. Well, thank you so much, May, for coming on and always being accessible.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for spreading the good message.
Oh,
Thanks.
anything on your vaccination rate, as we're now up against the deadline? What percentage are you guys at, and how many more?
You know, we only have actually a handful left. So our total count that we're accountable for in terms of vaccinating is 1,300 and something employees. And we have about 50 something left that are unvaccinated. And they've been going through the testing and will continue to go through the weekly testing, which is part of the mandate. So we have very few that are left that are not vaccinated.
Okay, thanks, May.
Thanks, May. If you could hold, though, because I just needed to ask you something offline. But
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, kindly hold, please.
Yeah, will do.
We're going to take a
Elevator
break.
music.
We'll be back with more of the link next. Good morning.
Learn about people.
Breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. The chances that a woman will die of breast cancer is about 1 in 38. Although there is no sure way to prevent breast cancer, there are certain things that you can do, such as eat healthier and exercise. For more information about breast cancer, go to the American Cancer Society's website at cancer.org. Also, on October 22nd, we invite you to think pink by wearing the color pink on that day in solidarity of our breast cancer survivors and warriors.
This pink message is brought to you in partnership with Ordot Dental Clinic, joining the fight against cancer in honor of brave warriors, survivors, and their families. Island Cancer Center and American Cancer Society.
We know you're tired of hearing about COVID-19. Some of you are probably wondering whether this is ever going to end. However long it takes, we all have to do our part, including our children, to hold the line. You can protect yourself and your family by getting vaccinated.
And if you're already vaccinated, don't let your guard down, because you can still give and get COVID-19. And if you're not vaccinated, remember that if you catch the virus, you could suffer more severe complications. At the end of the day, it's the choices we make to protect ourselves, our families, and our community that will control the spread.
We know it sounds repetitive at this point, but again, wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear your mask.
Together, we have to hold the line.
GU Self Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
The KUAM Podcast Network is back and on demand, featuring a great variety of podcasts from our island and region, including culture, lifestyle, awareness, crime, politics, commentary, comedy, and entertainment. Available on most streaming platforms. The KUAM Podcast Network. Subscribe and listen now.
Do you feel like you're missing out on something? Make life more rewarding with Pacific Points. Earn and redeem points for bill rebates and free load at IT&E, discounts on fuel at Shell, vouchers at Foodies, and United Mileage Plus miles. You can even pay with Pacific Points at IT&E, Shell, and Foodies. Pacific Points. Do more, get more.
Get yourself all caught up with the week's games, scores, and highlights with the KUAM Sports Weekend Roundup on KUAM News Weekend Edition. It's all inclusive, all the fun and all the action wrapped up in the perfect presentation. Relive the moments on the KUAM Sports Weekend Roundup, brought to you by Gatorade. Greatness starts with G.
KUAM's multi-platform morning show, The Link, just got a little more delicious with Feed Me Fridays. Chris, Sabrina, Jason, and the rest of the morning crew will take some time off each Friday to talk, taste, and tempt you with all the latest and greatest food and drinks on Guam. Old faves, new hits, and everything else we can put in our bellies. It's Feed Me Fridays on The Link, brought to you by King's Restaurants, Ruby Tuesday Guam, and Devondale.
Say hello to the first Hawaiian Bank mobile app. Want a better look at your spending? With MoneyMap, you can automatically create budgets and manage where your money is going. Know when you have a green light, or when it's time to slow down. Maybe cook more meals at home this week. Set your goals, track your progress, and find your way to exactly where you want to be. With MoneyMap from the First Hawaiian Bank mobile app. It all starts with yes.
Looking for TV schedules, upcoming sports, or special presentations, or what you may have missed over the busy week you had? Well, look no further than KUAM Digital Digest. This weekly emailed newsletter puts all kinds of information in the hands of subscribers each and every week. Just subscribe and we will make sure you keep up with your favorites and stay informed and entertained throughout it all. Go to KUAM.com, click on the newsletter tab, give us your email address, and you are all set. Brought to you in digital partnership with King's Restaurant and Ruby Tuesday Guam. It's the KUAM Digital Digest, your weekly guide to the latest information and best entertainment on the stations and platforms of KUAM.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by KFC and the Medical City, where patients are partners.
KUAM Communications continues our perpetuation of our Chamorro culture, language, and heritage with features available to our listening and viewing audience, including streaming of Chamorro music 24 hours per day on Isla Digital Radio on KUAM.com and the KUAM News app. Chamorro News Update, weekdays on The Link and the KUAM News YouTube channel. Conversations about life in our Chamorro language podcast, Cuentos Tapoco, with Kin Conception. Seasonal specials, shows, and other features highlighting the beauty of our language, culture, and history. It's a new era of our continued commitment to our Chamorro heritage. Isla, watch, listen, stream. Viva Isla!
Of the perfume just takes me away to a land of peace, near the sea of love, near the gardens of nature in the heavens above. And I know it's real, more than a dream, when you're alone with me and just falling in love right here in paradise. Ooh, I hope you're loving the view. Let this tropical breeze set you in the mood, just falling in love right here in paradise. Ooh, I hope you're loving the view. Let this tropical breeze set you in the mood. Oh, ooh, na 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 na, hey, yeah 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 yeah. Ooh, na 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 na, hey, yeah 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 yeah. Ooh, na 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 na, hey, yeah 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 yeah. Ooh, na 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 na, hey, yeah 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 yeah. I bet you're tasting like coconut candy. Oh honey, may I take a bite in this love story? Let your dunkaloo the gun moon shake with no worry. And tomorrow we been doing it all over again. I bet you're tasting like coconat candy. Oh honey, may I take a bite in this love story? Let your dunkaloo the gun moon shake with no worry. And tomorrow we be doing it all over again. Just falling in love right here in paradise. Ooh, I hope you're loving the view. Let this tropical breeze set you in the mood. Just falling in love right here in paradise. Ooh, I hope you're loving the view. Let this tropical breeze set you in the mood. Sing, ooh, na 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 na, hey, yeah 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 yeah. Ooh, na 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 na, hey, yeah 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 yeah. Ooh, na 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 na, hey, yeah 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 yeah. Ooh, na 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 na, hey, yeah 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 yeah.
Hey, 923, welcome back to the link. It's proudly brought to you by Pacific Points, Cabo Enterprises, ITN and Jack in the Box, 923. It's Monday, September 27th. Good morning. Coming up from Public Health, we have the spokesperson, Janella Carrera. And that was a little bit of Mariana's Collective. Freddie Berdalio, Gene Castro, and Joe Hernandez. Good stuff there. 923 from Public Health, Janella Carrera. Good morning, Janella. Thanks for joining us.
There she is.
Popping up here. Right on. Happy Monday.
Hi, good morning. Is it my turn?
It's your turn. Hello, welcome.
Right on time.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday.
Right
Happy
on.
Monday. I don't know if you heard May. She was on earlier, and I don't know if you had any other information to add to it. But she said it was a very somber weekend over at GMH only, that there were several fatalities that occurred over the weekend, and some of them were DOA. Do you have any other information regarding that, or?
I don't have information. We have yet to receive it, at least for the JIC report. I imagine we'll be receiving it possibly today to be able to report that out in the JIC release. Usually, obviously, anytime that is reported, the hospitals would receive it first and then relay it to the Joint Information Center for release into the public. So, yeah, wow, I can imagine how heartbreaking that is to learn about.
Right. I guess then an update on the FEMA team. Can you provide information on that? Are they here? Are they at the infusion center?
So my understanding is they did arrive. I believe most of them have arrived. There may be still some. I don't have an exact number on how many arrived, but I believe the first two arrived a couple nights ago, and then most of them arrived last night, and then there's still a few more that we're waiting for. So that's great news. They're here. Most of them, at least, are here. So, but prior to their arrival, we've already been doing Region Cove infusion, as you're well aware and have already reported, at the Manila Senior Center. So what's going to be great is that with them here, they can just do some orientation at the Manila Senior Center, see our operations, and then get right to work as well.
And speaking of the Regenco Cove, May was saying that a shipment arrived over the weekend, over 400, I believe she mentioned.
Yes.
So
that's correct.
Does that all go to Public Health, and then Public Health divvies it out? How does that work?
Right. So there was a physician's advisory that went out, I believe it was late last week. And that physician advisory basically just, it lets our providers know that there's a change in process and procedure in the way that the Region Cove and monoclonal antibodies are ordered and distributed. So prior to that change, providers and clinics are able to provide or order directly from the manufacturer, but the Health and Human Services have changed that process so that now we have sort of one hub that places all those orders for monoclonal antibody, and then the distribution is through the state and territory, which in this case would be public health. And so it just kind of makes the process a lot more smooth and efficient that way. So there's no confusion, and there's one point of contact that the HHS would be dealing directly with. And then they also base it on our utilization rate. And so you're right. So over the weekend, late last week actually, we did receive a shipment of 480 Region Cove courses or doses. So they arrived in good condition. And so we'll be able to distribute that out to our providers, and then from there it goes out to all the patients.
Any of the Regen Cove been given to the private clinics so they can do the same?
I'm not sure if they've been divvied out to the private clinics yet. I don't know if we've actually had any providers that have reached out. I know that we did put a call out to providers if they're interested, if they have patients. Most of our referrals have been through our testing sites. And so when we do have patients that are eligible through our testing sites, they're referred to the hospitals or to the Minilao Senior Center. But as far as private clinics or providers, that I'm not sure yet if we've had any private providers reach out to us. I'll have to double check on that one.
Well, a lot of things have happened since Friday. Friday was the deadline for GovGuam employees for the vaccinations. Today's the private businesses covered under the executive order. And then over the weekend, we saw the exemption forms approved and available online. And then there's the testing guidelines. Are you able to kind of just walk us through what exactly is in these testing guidelines, specifically for parents, so they know what these schools are going to be doing with their children?
Sure. So, there's two components for the testing guidelines, as you mentioned, with the school system. So first, so as not to confuse the two, the first component is there's a diagnostic portion. And that diagnostic portion really is a long-term plan. And that is anytime there is a child, a student, staff, or teacher who is symptomatic, we want to ensure that they are able to come to a school health counselor, nurse, or office and get tested immediately. If they test positive, then we can immediately isolate that individual, student, teacher, or staff, and case investigation is initiated. So that is a diagnostic portion. That's I think Guidance Memo 2021-26. And then the second component is the screening testing. And that portion or that component handles the plan that would have sort of a regular type of testing. I think if I'm not mistaken, it says a biweekly plan, and it gives schools time to sort of develop the plan up to 90 days to test 10% of the school population. So that in a nutshell is kind of the difference between the two plans, but they kind of go hand in hand. What we don't want to happen is that while the schools are developing in that 90-day time frame a screening testing component and testing 10% of their population at a frequency of every 2 weeks, that they miss out on finding or testing students and staff who are symptomatic. So at any given time, anytime there's a student or staff who's not feeling well, and they come in and say, just as an example, they may feel symptoms, but perhaps they take their temperature and it doesn't register as a fever, even a low-grade fever, but they may have diarrhea or just fatigue, which could also be symptomatic of COVID-19. but they don't register as a fever. The nurse or an official might send them back to class, not knowing that that might actually be COVID-19. But with the guidance in place, they can test them still for COVID-19. They may still end up testing positive. So with that guidance in place, and we have tests, kits available in the school setting, then we can immediately identify that positive case and isolate them.
And so these, everyone's that needs to be trained to administer these tests have been trained or will be required to undergo the testing?
That's correct. I mean, we do have nurses, right, at the DOE school setting. And also, I believe it was either sometime last week or the week before, we did have a training session for, I want to say over 100 or at least dozens of personnel from DOE to undergo how to administer these tests. So we ensure that they were equipped to learn how to test students at DOE settings.
Did it include guidance on like a waiver form, like for parents? Because I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with just anybody stuffing
my
a
understanding is,
Q-tip
at
up
least for the
someone's
screening
nose.
testing, I think DOE is still working on ensuring that there is some kind of approval or getting the parents to agree, right?
Is that part of it though, Janella? Is parental consent required?
I'm not sure if it's in the guidance, but I know that there's some kind of consent, at least for the screening testing, if that's part of the development that needs to be done under the 90-day timeline.
Is there an age group that would be required to undergo this testing for kids?
So I know that for the screening testing, I think the priority, right, the preferred priority would be the unvaccinated, but it doesn't exclude those who are vaccinated. I think the priority obviously falls on those who are unvaccinated, but if there are at least, and also for the diagnostic portion. For the diagnostic portion, it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. If you're symptomatic, we test you right away. But for the screening testing, and I think that's all part of the plan for the DOE schools to develop. Test 10% of your school population, but we would like for you to develop that plan within 90 days. Whether that includes, a portion of your school population, mostly of unvaccinated, but you want to include also vaccinated students, how you determine how many, what the percentage or the makeup of that 10% is. It's inclusive of both unvaccinated or unvaccinated. Perhaps it's 50% unvax, 50% vax, or a larger proportion. I think that's all part of the developing of the plan within those 90 days.
What if a parent says, no, I'm not going to give you consent?
So I think that's part of it. That's I think that's where DOE comes in, is trying to get consent from the parents. And if there is a parent that doesn't consent to it, then that's part of the policy that they need to develop.
Okay. Exemptions. Have you guys already gotten people applying since it went up over the weekend?
I have to check back, but I know that prior to the medical and religious exemptions, the forms being issued, we had over 100 religious exemption applications and about 55 or so medical exemption requests that were submitted. But since we released the forms, I haven't been able to talk to our team yet to see if we had an increase or more requests that were submitted over the weekend. So we had quite a lot that were submitted prior to the forms being officially released.
And you know, we had the mayor on, and he was talking about there seems to be some confusion because they're part of this whole aggressive campaign to go out and reach out to their constituents to get tested. But then, lo and behold, some of them are saying, hey, you know, when I went to the tier 2 clinics, they're charging me. They're charging me administrative fees, and they were under the impression that they would have to pay zero, that they wouldn't be charged anything. Can you provide, I guess, any clarification or anything to kind of address those concerns from residents that apparently want to get tested, but they also don't want to pay to get tested?
Yeah, so I know that that's been sort of an issue, right, with regards to private clinics. It's come up several times over the last year and a half. Some clinics do charge an administrative fee. I know that there may be some clinics actually that don't charge an administrative fee, and then there are also other clinics, depending upon your healthcare coverage, would be absorbed by whatever insurance you might have. But it is an allowable procedure or allowable policy for these private clinics to be able to charge you for a fee, an administrative fee, but the actual testing portion itself is not being charged. So the test itself is free, but the administrative cost is what's being billed. So the clinics are, and this was already determined by, I want to say CDC, is that the private clinics can charge an administrative cost. But you know, that's the reason why public health and the government of Guam stands up these clinics, these outreach clinics rather, is what I wanted to say is, that's why we have TEDSN, we have the Northern Public Health, and we have Southern Region Community Health Center as well. So that for those who are unable to afford getting tested at private clinics, the ones that do charge an administrative fee, we have these clinics available. I know that, you know, for some it may be an inconvenience because there may be longer wait times, but we try to do our best to make these available. And, you know, I do want to thank our mayor's council, our mayors, for doing their best to promote this campaign. But, you know, it is something that these private clinics can do, is charge an administrative fee.
Any word on whether or not there's any other infusion centers that are going to open?
And then on that, Janella, I know that when they opened this one, they said that they were able to service 10 patients an hour, but they anticipated being able to bump that up to 20. Are we close to that yet, or?
Right, up to 20. And what's great is now that we have our FEMA team arriving, hopefully that means we can, hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers, expand our operations. We did communicate with, I believe it was our southern mayors. We were eyeing that, the possibility. I'm not sure if it was in Alahan, but we were looking at that possibility. But what we determined was, you know, initially we determined that it was Manila Mayor because it was more feasible. It was closer to TEDSN, and it is a COVID positive, you know, place, right? It's a place where we would be sending COVID positive patients. So as we look at our assets, we look at our resources, we look at our manpower, I think from there, we'll work with that. And if it's something that we can do as we move forward in terms of opening up more centers, I think that's what we can work with. For now, it's Manila Senior Center. But now that we're bringing in more assets, if we're able to do that, and just remember, you know, the FEMA team is here on a temporary basis. If we're able to, and if it's approved, if we can put in a request to extend their mission here, then hopefully that's something we can do, and it gets approved. But they're here initially. I think it's a 30-day mission, and so for now it's a senior center. And again, as I mentioned, we did initially look at Inalahan as a possible site, but Manila Senior Center was a better option. Yes.
Janella, where is public health as a agency with their vaccination compliance?
Vaccination compliance.
With the mandate, the vaccination mandate?
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean our rate? Last I checked, which was late last week, we're at about 89%. And prior to that, the week before that, we were at 86%. So it's going up. And, you know, as I talk to more of our agencies, it goes higher. So there's a lot of them that are saying, you know, a lot of us are just due this week, or we're due for a second dose. So as the weeks go by, as the days go by, more and more people are trying to catch up with their second dose. So it goes up, you know, as the days go up as well.
What about planning for the administration of booster shots?
A great question. So, you know, as you're aware, if you're following the news, the CDC actually so they just made a decision. The CDC director herself actually kind of went above and beyond what the ACIP had recommended. So we actually had a discussion just this past weekend, and so I believe the plan now is to have the VAPPC meet and discuss how we're going to have whether it's going to be in phases or whether we're just going to roll it out as is with how the CDC is basing it on. So hopefully we'll have a decision or an announcement made by today, and so the public is aware of how they can make the booster shot available to them.
Is the VAPPC or CCP, I forget, are they meeting this afternoon or today?
Yeah, hopefully it'll be today. My understanding is it will be sometime today.
Mm-hmm.
Any enforcement actions taken against anybody for violations of the governor's executive orders or COVID-19 protocols, Janella?
You know, actually, I don't know if you've been seeing the emails that I've been sending with regards to the enforcement, but most of the establishments have been very compliant. They've been pretty compliant. We haven't been seeing any violations occurring. So, you know, we're really glad that they've been very cooperative when our team goes out to do inspections. They're not really running into any problems. You know, we see we see complaints here and there, or people just reporting, you know, this is what I'm seeing. But when we go out, I think some of it is just a misunderstanding on what they're seeing or perhaps what they're observing. But we, you know, when we go out and we observe, or when we go out to inspect, you know, we get clarification on what's going on. And so most establishments, as you'll see in the reports, are complying with the mandates and the executive orders.
I did want to follow up on a story that we did last week, and a caller that called in to the show expressing, you know, what happened to her family and issue she had trying to get a hold of public health, 311, trying to get into the isolation facility. You know, we posted that story, and then the comments, there were other people who had similar nightmare stories about just trying to get into the isolation facility. So are you guys aware of this at all? And have you guys received any complaints about people being turned away?
I'm not aware of anyone being turned away, and nobody really should be turned away unless our isolation facility obviously is full. And even at that, you know, we would do our best to try and assist. And I'm not aware of our isolation facility being full. I've not heard of it being at capacity. If we have beds available or rooms available, we will take them. We will endorse them if, you know, as long as we can assess the situation, and we can endorse them. Now, I think I'm familiar with the story that you're talking about because, you know, I do read the news, so I'm familiar with what happened. So I don't know specifically, what the case was with that particular patient. But, typically what we do is we advise patients who are in need of, if their home is not a suitable place for them to be able to isolate, then we advise them to contact 311, which is a standard. We always advise people to contact 311. If it's an emergency, contact 911. And our nurses who answer the 311 hotline can assess the situation and then endorse them to the isolation facility. Now, if they're unable to get a hold of 311, we also have the JIC call center as well, and they can also assist. But the isolation facility is capable of also endorsing them to the isolation facility if that's the situation. Unfortunately, and I do want to extend, an apology to this particular patient and this family that for whatever reason they weren't able to get in. I don't know, I think I read your story, the story that the nurses told them that they were full. Was that the case? And then later come to find out we weren't full. I don't know why that happened. I'm not sure why. I'd have to find out and do further investigation, but I'm not aware of our facility being full, so I'd have to find out exactly why that was the case.
Has there ever been any discussion to open, because I know a few months back they said, oh, we're going to do a hybrid facility or open another facility. Is that still in the works, or we scrap that?
I don't know whatever became of that. I know I recall that those were in discussions several months back. But at this point, I think it's still status quo, and I don't know where those discussions have led to.
You're talking about the consolidated facility,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
Right,
I did reach out to
Okay.
Jenna, and she said the bid for potential vendors has been announced, with the last day for questions being last week, Friday. We do not have a list of vendors who picked up bid packets, so that was the status of that. And also, just for clarification, because we have had people that have called, and it's regarding when they go and they get tested and they're waiting for a clearance from public health on whether or not it was positive or negative. And even for those who are positive, these letters of clearance, do they have to wait for a phone call, or did they just automatically go to public health in Agania and pick up these letters of clearance?
So the clearance letters, when we were doing the isolation clearance letters, I know that there were a couple weeks that we were doing that here at our office in Agania. So we actually discontinued doing that. So we did make an announcement that if they need an isolation clearance letter, they can actually submit a request through email. And I believe the email address is covidresults@dphss.guam.gov. So if they need their isolation clearance letters, they can send an email request to that email address. And so the particular service that we were doing for the actual pickup at that time was because we did have a backlog. And so we had like over 600 or 800 letters at the time where they can, and we weren't able to dole out all the letters. And it was just too much letters to be able to have it all picked up. So we decided we'll just have a service where people can come and pick it up. But we were able to finally bring that number down to a manageable level. And so now we can do it via email. Now, for those who are in isolation, we are, at this time we are, especially in August, we experienced a surge, and the numbers are still continuing to go up. We have a lot of people in active isolation. And so our contact tracing team, our case investigation team is doing their best to manage, people, trying to get in touch with people to ensure that they are, being monitored, even those in quarantine being monitored. And so that's why we advise people that if you do test positive, the best thing to do is to just remain in isolation. Keep yourself at a safe distance from others in your home. If you are a close contact, of course, also self-quarantine, and try to stay away from the person that is a positive case. Now, for your isolation, the standard is 10 days of isolation. If you clear isolation on the 10th day, as long as you're not experiencing worsening symptoms, and you're no longer taking any fever-reducing medication, and it's been 24 hours since you've had to take fever-reducing medication. And so if all of those have been met for your active isolation, then you can request for an isolation clearance letter if you need one. Say, for example, you need to return to work or school. So those are the standards that we've been trying to communicate to the public. Usually public health, the case investigation team, will contact you during those 10 days to monitor you. I know that there have been situations, and we've been getting some feedback from the community stating that, nobody's contacted me, or it's been more than 10 days I haven't been contacted by public health during, my active isolation period. But we are doing our best because there are, thousands of people in active isolation, and we really have a very minimal team of case investigators. And so that's part of the reason why we're asking the community to also work with us, that if you are positive, these are the steps that you should take in the meantime. So we are trying to come up with a better system to improve it, but we also ask the community to work with us. If you're positive, just isolate yourself. If you're a close contact, quarantine yourself. If you're fully vaccinated and then you're not considered a close contact, but you should also get tested within 3 to 5 days just to make sure.
And I just had one more question about the COVID alert app. Is this still working?
It does work. It does still work. I actually tested it just to make sure. I wasn't positive, but I entered a code and I wanted to see, and I didn't tell my family because I didn't want them to expect an exposure notification. So my daughter and then my son, they were like, hey, my sister, they were like, oh my God, I got an exposure notification. And I said, don't worry, that was just me. That was me testing the exposure notification. So it does work. But what needs to happen is people around you and people in general need to have the app in their phones downloaded. And then the Bluetooth needs to be turned on. And then, of course, you have to be within 6 feet, 15 minutes of exposure. Your phones need to be in order for it to work. So, and then whoever's positive, if somebody turns up positive, they need to enter a code into their phone. That's how the system works. So it's not an automatic thing. If somebody turns up positive, they need to get a code from public health, enter that code, and then those around you within the last 14 days, if they have the app downloaded to their phones, will receive that exposure notification. So it is still working. I just tested it last week.
But you got to have it, and you got to report your status.
Right. Exactly.
You good?
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Janella.
No further questions.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Have a good week.
Take care. You too. Bye.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and come back and close out the show next. Good morning.
We know you're tired of hearing about COVID-19. Some of you are probably wondering whether this is ever going to end. However long it takes, we all have to do our part, including our children, to hold the line. You can protect yourself and your family by getting vaccinated.
And if you're already vaccinated, don't let your guard down, because you can still give and get COVID-19. And if you're not vaccinated, remember that if you catch the virus, you could suffer more severe complications. At the end of the day, it's the choices we make to protect ourselves, our families, and our community that will control the spread.
We know it sounds repetitive at this point, but again, wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear your mask.
Together, we have to hold the line.
Breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in women. The chances that a woman will die of breast cancer is about 1 in 38. Although there is no sure way to prevent breast cancer, there are certain things that you can do, such as eat healthier and exercise. For more information about breast cancer, go to the American Cancer Society's website at cancer.org. Also, on October 22nd, we invite you to think pink by wearing the color pink on that day in solidarity of our breast cancer survivors and warriors.
This pink message is brought to you in partnership with Ordot Dental Clinic, joining the fight against cancer in honor of brave warriors, survivors, and their families. Island Cancer Center and American Cancer Society.
Uno Mixed. We're mixing it up on the last Thursday of every month with a look at lifestyle, entertainment, food, and so much more on the stations, networks, and digital platforms of KUAM Communications. Uno Mixed is presented to you by Docomo Pacific, Better Together, and Pepsi.
Take in the panoramic beauty of our island each Sunday on the KUM News Instagram with Scenic Sundays. Scroll through the natural beauty of the island on display. Scenic Sundays on the KUM News Instagram is brought to you by Addis Trust and Investment, Location, Service, Trust, and Haagen-Dazs Shops Guam, where every day is made extraordinary.
The KUAM Podcast Network is back and on demand, featuring a great variety of podcasts from our island and region, including culture, lifestyle, awareness, crime, politics, commentary, comedy, and entertainment. Available on most streaming platforms. The KUAM Podcast Network. Subscribe and listen now.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by KFC and the Medical City, where patients are partners.
3.9.
Oh, yeah. Good morning. To see the natives, yeah. Oh, yeah. Should I put my trust in you? Should I put my faith in you? Should I let you stick around?
Okay, UMTV, it's been a blast as always on this Monday. Back to school Monday.
Be safe out there.
Hey, yeah, it's not every day you get to say you went back to school in a high risk of transmission area. That should be your first assignment. 500-word essay. What's it like? Good job today, Jay.
All right.
Right on. All right. Joe, sir, good job. Bree, good, sir. Good job.
Good job.
Pacific Points, Cabo Enterprises, ITNE, and Jack in the Box.
You know who we also wish good job to? All the kids back in class today.
Yeah, that's right.
The entire DOE, 28,000 students.
Not all of them. Don't make people nervous. They split them up into cohorts, so it's like half.
So are they doing what Academy did last week, where it's freshmen and sophomore, or at least for the high schools, freshman and sophomore one day, and then upperclassmen another day?
Isn't it up to each individual school?
Yeah, it's up to each individual school whether they want to do it by letter of last name, color of eyes, or whatever.
Vaccination status.
Vaccinations.
I shouldn't be laughing.
Is your chick the same grade as you?
Yeah. So KUM TV, thanks guys. It's been awesome. Guasi Chris está. Adios.
Bye.